Us on this lovely Tuesday morning. It's great to see all STPI members who've come from Pan India to witness the launch of MedTech Open Challenge 0.2 Navonmesh, new age vanguard of novel ideas in medical environs for secure health. I'm happy to see all the panelists here and I welcome them on the virtual dais. I, Soumya Shukla, member, TIE Lucknow, will be hosting you for the next 60 to 75 minutes and will be moderating this entire program for you. So without further delay, I would request Surya sir to please give the welcome address. But before handing over to him, I would like to briefly introduce him. Shri Surya Kumar Patnaik is Scientist F and Officer in Charge STPI Lucknow. He has 24 plus years of experience in STPI, presently working as Additional Director and Officer in Charge STPI Lucknow. He's closely working with state governments, academic institutions, and other stakeholders for the promotion of IT, ITES, ESDM industry. In the UP region, prior to Lucknow Center, he has worked in the capacity of Officer in Charge at different STPI centers at Rourkela, Bhubaneswar, Ranchi, and Patna. So with those words, I welcome you, sir, to give the welcome address.
Thank you very much, Soumya, for the introduction. Good morning and namaskar. Thank you for joining the launch of second Open Challenge program of MedTech CoE today. I am Surya Kumar Patnaik, Officer in Charge STPI Lucknow. It is indeed my privilege to welcome Dr. Omkar Rai, DG STPI, our chief guest and keynote speaker to launch of second Open Challenge program OCP2 of MedTech CoE. Thank you, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule to grace us with your presence. I also take this opportunity to welcome our eminent guests and speakers at this event, Dr. Saurav Srivastav, Chief Mentor, MedTech CoE, Dr. Rajnish Agrawal, Jurisdiction Director, STPI Noida, Dr. Jitendra Sharma, MD and CEO, MTZ, Andhra Pradesh MedTech Zone, Dr. Subhash Sachan, Director, STPI Headquarter and CEO, AIC STPI Next Initiatives, Sri Rishendra Kumar IS, Special Secretary, IT Electronics and MD, EPLC, Government of Uttar Pradesh, Dr. Arun Mohan Seri, Director, IIIT Lucknow, Dr. Santanu Pandey, Professor, Head of Department of Cardiovascular and Thoracic Surgery at SGPGI Lucknow, Sri Anurag Verma, Chief Operating Officer of MedTech CoE. Today, Mr. Dhiman, Director SGPGI, not joining. Instead of Dhiman sir, Dr. Santanu Pandey joining for the program. With a great pleasure and satisfaction, I welcome the senior STPI official, jurisdictional director, all partners, stakeholders, boarding startups, entrepreneurs, representatives from IT and ESDM industries, co-founders, startups, representative from the state government, students, IT professionals, and my colleagues from the STPI who are witnessing this event online today. Before I start, I would like to mention for our audience that after this session, we have a technical session where we have invited Mr. Neeraj Jha, founder Hanuman, Mr. Romita Ghosh, founder iHeal Health Technical Tech Private Limited, Gaurav Prachani, co-founder of Doji, Mr. Lalit Ranjan, co-founder of Meditel. The technical session will be focused on disruptive innovation in the MedTech for the healthier tomorrow. With this note, I would like to proceed with the introduction of the MedTech CoE. You know, Software Technology Parks of India, an organization under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, has created multiple centers of entrepreneurs across the country for promoting entrepreneurial spirit amongst youth, researchers, engineers, and society at large, which will contribute to economic and social development of the country. Sri Subhash Sachan, Director STPI Headquarters and CEO AIC STPI Next Initiative, is the man on the mission behind the STPI CoE initiative, and he shall be covering in a great detail how STPI is building a phenomenal startup ecosystem across India. As part of the same mission, Software Technology Parks of India has set up MedTech, a center of entrepreneur in Electronics and Health Informatics at SGPJ Lucknow in association with Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, Government of Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh MedTech Zone, and Association of Indian Medical Device Industry. This Center of Entrepreneurship at STPI Lucknow has been set up to connect startups, provide startup with collaboration, attract investors, and ultimately strengthen the startups community for making India a world leader in technology space and creating a pipeline of future jobs creating business. The Center of Entrepreneurship is having estimated budget of 22 crores over a period of 5 years with support from Government of Uttar Pradesh, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, and STPI and other stakeholders. MedTech CoE offers furnished built-up space of around 15,000 square feet of incubation space, having 100 plug-and-play seats with state-of-art infrastructure comprising electronics and IoT lab, etc. MedTech CoE plans to incubate 10 startups in each year. That is overall 50 plus startups over the next 5 years and provide them comprehensive support in the form of mentoring, industry connect, market access, networking and funding access, lab access, access to STPI speed internet infrastructure. The CoE is primarily dedicated to electronics and health informatics enabled startups. I would like to share with you the vision behind the setting of this CoE. The CoE vision is to be a key player in the startup ecosystem by actively mentoring young people at various stages in their entrepreneurial journey and significantly impact survival rates positively. Our mentors will help across validating the innovation, building product and services around it, reach out to the market through a well-defined process and industry connect. The key objective of the CoE to identify and support potential MedTech entrepreneur, especially in the field of electronics and health informatics, to provide technical assistance in the development of processes, technologies, and product along with the managed workspace, to provide mentoring and marketing assistance, to connect researchers and entrepreneurs to create IPs and commercialize innovations, to create economic and social growth of the region as well as the country. We all shall be pleased to know that Government of India has been playing a vital role in boosting development of medical devices and related products in India, with Niti Aayog championing the cause of making India an emergent player in the healthcare. India is at an inflection point when it comes to healthcare technology and has the potential to become a world leader in this domain. Startups are the new growth engine, and the government has initiated several schemes to boost the growth of startups, promote entrepreneurship and create high-skilled jobs. We are looking forward to listening to Sirendra Kumar, Special Secretary IT and Electronics, Government of UP, as he will share his views about Uttar Pradesh initiative to nurture a culture of enterprise building. Moreover, STPI has taken a big leap to support startup ecosystem and have added 6 CoE recently within a 6 months. As of now, we have a 19 domain-specific CoEs across pan-India and target to establish the 25 CoE by 2020. All these credits go to our leadership, Dr. Omkar Rai, Director General STPI, who has transformed this organization to meet the new challenges. STPI is in transforming incubation services into smart incubation services, having mentorship, access to funding, legal and IPR support, and many more. Objective of the OCP Open Challenge Program is in line with the startup and the innovation promotion scheme of STPI, having problem statements from medical experts. We have taken medical problem statement from the medical experts. The main objective of this program is employment generation in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities of the country. MedTech CoE has conducted one Open Challenge program earlier, and today is the launch of Open Challenge 2. Let me share a few highlights of the Open Challenge 1. The first Open Challenge program was launched by Dr. Omkar Rai, DG STPI, and our chief guest for the day on 14th August 2020. It received an immense response with 151 startups applying for the first cohort. 42 were shortlisted through rigorous screening process, and finally 8 best startups are onboarded. All these startups are at various stages of ideation, proof of concept, and product development. By the time they would graduate from the CoE, they would be ready to take on the world with their MedTech innovations. After overwhelming response to the first Open Challenge program, and in line with our mission to empower 50+ startups in the next 5 years, we are here at the launch of the second Open Challenge program to select startups from the electronics and health informatics domains for our next cohort of the MedTech CoE. The theme of the second Open Challenge program is Navnomes, that is a new age vanguard of novel ideas in medical environs for secure health. That is innovations mainly. Dr. Rajnish Agrawal, Jurisdiction Director, STPI Noida, man behind this vision, shall be sharing in great detail about the theme of the second Open Challenge program. With this Open Challenge program, we wish to onboard the best 10 or more startups in the MedTech space of our second cohort. We may increase this number for eligible startups if we find them as the right fit. Application portal shall be open after the event for accepting application. The link to the application portal shall be shared with you in the chat box too. You may make a note for the same. All the attendees shall receive an emailer too with the details of how to apply for this Open Challenge program. We are looking for startups right from the idea stage to growth stage. All are requested to apply MedTech CoE with help you with its expertise in enterprise building. We will also support you with fundraising, government problem statement, and pilot projects. The selection process is in a 3-phase process. In this first phase, we accept the application from all eligible Indian startups in a MedTech space. You can apply as a registered startups or as individual entrepreneurs or a group of entrepreneurs and co-founders. In the second phase, a team of eminent professionals shall screen these applications to shortlist startups for the next phase of selection, which is based on the pitch presentation by the entrepreneurs, founders, co-founders of shortlisted startups. Before a select committee, who shall finally declare the list of selected startups. At last, I would like to say that great adversity can also be a great opportunity. It could open windows of opportunity for the startups and entrepreneurs working in Uttar Pradesh region as well as across the country. I welcome once again all the eminent guests and speakers today, and also welcome all the audience. Thank you.
Talk, and then I'll call you.
Thank you, sir, for that welcome address, and also for the elaborate description of the Open Challenge Program 2.0. Because of certain important engagements, we have a slight change in the speaker schedule. I would now like to introduce to you the illuminary Dr. Saurabh Srivastav. Dr. Saurabh Srivastav is the Chief Mentor of MedTech CoE and former Chairman NASSCOM, Chairman Emeritus, TIDE Delhi NCR. He is an Indian entrepreneur, investment professional, institution builder, and former chairman of NASSCOM, a non-profit trade organization for the promotion of the Indian industry, a master's degree holder from Harvard University. He founded Infinity Venture, reportedly the first venture capital fund in India, and is a recipient of DataQuest Lifetime Achievement Award, the IT Industry Award from the Prime Minister of India, and the Distinguished Alumnus Award from the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. The Government of India awarded him the fourth highest civilian honor of the Padma Shri in 2016 for his contributions to trade and industry. It is indeed an honor for me to have introduced, sir. Over to you.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is still good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. We've all heard from Surya about what STPI is doing and about this program. So I will not dwell on that. I would only say that I would start by really commending STPI by making a tremendous contribution towards building the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Having been a founder of NASSCOM, I'm well familiar with STPI's earlier role, which greatly helped the IT industry. But now they're focused on startups. And they are, in fact, transforming the entire area of incubation services by making them smart incubation services, by adding mentoring, funding support, legal, financial, IP, all of those kinds of supports. That's a great initiative. Secondly, they look at the centers of excellence. You already heard they've added 6 more. They're up to 19. They wanted to hit 25 by 2025. But I'll focus on the area of health tech, which is the focus today for the Center of Excellence. And I would say this, that the single most important thing for India is healthcare. And let me narrow it down further. It is affordable healthcare to those who are deprived of it today. So I'm not talking of the big cities and for the people who can afford it, the people who are covered by medical insurance, they have access. But if you go to tier 2, tier 3 towns, and particularly in the rural areas, they do not have that access. It's the single most important thing, simply because many families in India get impoverished when somebody in their family falls sick, and in particularly rural areas or amongst the underprivileged, they may take decades to recover. How do we fix this? We cannot triple the number of doctors or nurses that we have in the next 2 years. It takes a long time. Even when you do, the best doctors do not like to go and sit in tier 2 or tier 3 towns or in villages. So how do you handle this? The only solution is the leveraging of technology. As we have seen, education is getting democratized through the use of technology. We only have a third as many teachers as we need. But the only way we can fix that is by using technology to take learning to remote areas. That's already happening. And you're seeing evidence of it in a company like Baiju being worth billions of dollars. That's all they do. So you can see the need. Now in healthcare, we need a similar and a much bigger revolution. So there's great need of using technology in many areas, certainly in diagnostics, medical devices, in doing remote teleconsultations, many of these areas. So let me talk about remote consultation. Till COVID struck, even in the cities, none of us would ever go for a remote consultation. We would always go for a physical session with the doctors, and the doctors would insist on a physical session. COVID gave us no choice, and it has forced us to go into teleconsultation. And it works. The best tools are not yet available, but that's what we do. In the rural areas, that is not happening. It's not happening because rural folks are not comfortable with the idea of teleconsultation yet, and the tools need to be a lot better for telemedicine to actually start working well. But it is very much the solution we have for the future. How good can we make telemedicine, teleconsultations, how can we make that access available to everybody in a village? We have to think through that. The second is, when I'm talking of technology and devices and equipment, whether it's diagnostic or elsewhere, it has to be A, low cost, B, it has to be easy to use. So it should not need sophisticated medical professional to use it, because in rural areas, you do not have them. Technology today exists to allow us to build those kind of devices. So I would say this, that for entrepreneurs, this is one of the most promising areas that you can look at as an opportunity. This is also one of the most important areas where you can make an impact on India and on Indians. And so far, we did not have such an industry. We imported everything. It was very expensive. And what we got was necessarily not the best. But I can tell you this today. I have looked at hundreds of startups in the healthcare, health tech, and biomedical areas. Many of them are doing phenomenal work. We've personally funded a large number of them. And many of them have already now gone on and raised several rounds of funding. And some of them are actually global plays. They have US FDA approval for many of their devices. So I would only like to close by saying to all of you is take advantage of this opportunity that STPI is offering you in terms of Center of Excellence, in terms of mentoring, support in many areas, including funding, etc. And the open challenge is a very key element of this, because this ensures that what startups are doing is what the market needs. So the idea of getting knowledgeable people to define what the requirements are, and then for people to join the challenge, is one of the best ways to take this forward. So with that, I just want to say thank you very much for having me here, and best of luck for the program.
Thank you, sir, for that terrific talk, and also for the address towards the challenges for accessibility and affordability of healthcare in India. I would now introduce to you our next speaker, Dr. Jitendra Sharma. Dr. Jitendra Sharma is known in policy forums as the MedTech Man of India. Dr. Jitendra Sharma is the Managing Director and CEO.
Ms. Shukla, no problem. We can save time. You can.
Sure, okay.
I can introduce myself.
great.
Namaskar, everyone. Thank you for inviting all of us in this webinar. Greetings to all colleagues, particularly Mr. Onkar Rai and Mr. Rajneesh Agarwal, my friend Mr. Subodh, for taking this forward, Mr. Verma taking this forward, taking forward a very strategic and a very thoughtful decision of Government of India to take forward startup revolution in the country through STPI. I will be brief, and thank you for accommodating my request by keeping my talk before 12 o'clock, as I need to rush for another engagement at 12:15. I just want to share three distinct thoughts with all of you. Incubation need not be always product oriented. It can be a business innovation. It can be a process innovation, which can rely on products. And I'll give you a very simple example. AMTZ, we produce about 1,200 oxygen concentrators every day. We supply to armed forces, Ministry of External Affairs, export orders, railways, ONGCs, navies, everyone. 1,200 oxygen concentrators in in 2 shifts of 16 hours is a lot. It's almost a concentrator every minute with 6 lines. But when we supply these concentrators, we of course sell it at a very reasonable cost. A 10-liter oxygen concentrator, for example, costs to Government of India 57,500 rupees. If we were to sell the same concentrator to a patient, while we may provide technology, the patients may not be able to afford 57,000, 60,000 rupees oxygen concentrator for a 10 days care or a 5 days care. So besides providing for technology, we must look at ways in which we can make technology affordable and accessible. What we did was we partnered with Uber across 80 warehouses in India, including Lucknow, including Kanpur. Now we have stock of 300 to 400 oxygen concentrator in 80 major cities in India. We developed an app, one of our incubators developed an app called O2 Home. We shipped these into 80 warehouses, the concentrators. Patients can actually take an oxygen concentrator on rent on an app for 400 rupees. The Uber car, which under lockdown, the drivers also had a huge problem with their employment. The Uber cab actually comes to one of our warehouses in whichever city the concentrator has been booked, picks it up, takes it to the patient. After 5 days or 10 days after the rental subscription is over, collects it back. Now, what if we lose the oxygen concentrator or it breaks? We have taken insurance of the entire inventory, so nobody loses. Uber drivers gain, patients gain. Instead of spending 60,000 rupees, they spend 400 rupees. Drivers gain, producers gain, everyone gains. Now, it is not about producing oxygen concentrators alone or innovating technology. We must try and see how we can democratize technology by taking it closer to people at a cost they can afford, and in a way they can access it better. So my first input to all the participants, and I have been with STPI team for quite some time now. It's a wonderful team. My appeal to all the startups is when you come under the umbrella of STPI, know that you are not coming under the umbrella of STPI alone. There are zones like us, multiple institutes, SGPGI. I see Dr. Pandey there. All of them are actually your mentors, institutional mentors. So apart from STPI, you are getting a whole lot of wonderful partners and mentors and organizations that can sit with you on a periodic basis to actually guide you and stream you into areas which are undiscovered or where you can make more impact. So, and therefore, don't look at product innovation alone, also look at process innovation. And Hanuman, for example, I see there is a talk by the CEO there, is a wonderful process innovation. My second point is these days we hear a lot of institutions making lot of products. For example, Indian Institute of Science and ISRO has made oxygen concentrators. There are many people who have made ventilators. There are more than 138 COVID test kit makers licensed for manufacturing in India. We ourselves make about 10 lakh RT-PCR COVID kits every day from this campus. Now, when we make these products, we should go one step deeper. An oxygen concentrator is made of oxygen sensor, a valve, an air compressor, oil-free air compressor, zeolite. Similarly, a ventilator requires pressure sensor, oxygen sensor, turbines, or air compressor, and so on. Let us not try to get all the spare parts from China to Korea, assemble it and call it innovation. It is an innovation because you are giving an alternate solution, but your success of giving alternate solution is still dependent on factors that are outside your control. In fact, there are custom delays that can derail a production pipeline immensely. There are costs which can go up to 2.5 times because the foreign suppliers, for example, zeolite in case of oxygen, the zeolite cost change from 3,350 rupees a kilo to almost 8,000 rupees a kilo. An oxygen concentrator, every unit would need about a kilogram, 1.8 kilograms of zeolite. And therefore, my second submission and suggestion to our wonderful innovators, potential applicants would be, in your area of innovation, go a step backward. Do what doctors do. I am a hospital administrator. So, you know, in a hospital setting, we always try to go to the root cause. If you solve the root cause, your ability and probability to solving the problem is much higher than when you treat a problem superficially. And therefore, when you take a technology, a project in your hand, please don't be satisfied by getting turbine from Korea or Tamagawa motor from China or a sensor from Germany or a Burkett valve from Italy. Make an innovation and be happy about it. Please try to see at least if 20 to 30% parts, critical components can be indigenized. And for that, use wonderful facilities like STPI. Use wonderful facilities like MSH Hub in Ministry of Electronics or BIRAC labs in Bioness centers of DBT, or for that matter, Atal incubation centers, more than 67 of them across the country. And therefore, my second submission would be, please identify the critical components of your medical technology so that you can take one step backwards and rectify the problem to some extent from the core. My third and last submission is very simple example. This remote control, the cabinet of it is very important. It's actually the shape of and user friendliness of a product. Now this cabinet takes less than 25 rupees to make, but the mold on which the die is casted could take up to 60 lakhs. If you look at an oxygen regulator, bedside oxygen regulator, it has 19 parts. The oxygen regulator is available for 1700 rupees. But that oxygen regulator with humidifier bottle, which costs only 1700 rupees, has 19 parts. And if you were to make a mold of those parts, it costs more than 1.5 crore. Because each part needs to be made a metal mold in which dye is casted for large scale production. One of the biggest inhibiting factors for medical technology is molds. So what we have done is we have created a national mold bank of standard medical products, a mold bank of almost 10 crores, where we have molds of various shapes, sizes, so that you can actually, without investing money, take a part for 1700 rupees or 2200 rupees. And the capital investment of mold is taken off the innovator. And therefore, one of the biggest inhibiting factors, which is molds, you should not get deterred if you are prototyping a product and batch producing it. STPI has wonderful partners in its value chain, like all of us. We would be happy to bring in the support. And therefore, my third submission to all innovators and potential applicants is simply do not restrict your thinking. Don't think that STPI cannot support you for a robotic cardiac surgery system because the mold will cost you 5 crore. Don't think that STPI cannot help you in producing a good quality operation theater light. Don't think STPI cannot help you in making a syringe pump. Please don't limit your imagination to small things. Go for big things. STPI with its wonderful team of value chain partners, institutions will be all out there to support you in your endeavor. The clinical experts from SGPGI would be there to help you understand the clinical needs from the doctor's end as well as the patient safety needs from patient's end. Institutions like IIIT would be happy to help you with the departmental support of expertise that come from multiple information technology and embedded electronic segments. STPI is not alone. STPI has a basket of institutions behind it and with it, and therefore go for blockbuster items that make our healthcare truly indigenous. With that, I thank STPI team once again and wishing all the applicants all the best, and we continue to remain available to support you. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for that deep dive into manufacturing of medical devices. Thank you, sir. So our next speaker was Dr. R.K. Dhiman. However, because of a prior engagement, he's unable to join us. So I would request Dr. Shantanu Pandey to also address on his behalf. I would now introduce to you Dr. Shantanu Pandey, who's serving as a professor of cardiovascular and thoracic surgery at Sanjay Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences. He has clinical experience of 22 years and teaching and research experience spanning 19 years. He has published 103 scientific papers, international journals with keen interest in functioning of right ventricle and development of heart valves. He specialized in minimally invasive cardiac surgery with innovations in this area of developing cardiac specialty. So I would request you to please address the audience.
Thank you very much for introduction, and I am pleased and honored to be included in this panel of very experienced and learned people. The speakers before me have very explicitly and very clearly defined the idea of STPI and the strength of STPI. So I am representing Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences, my institution, and specifically Professor R.K. Dhiman, who is director of our institution. So I would, for benefit of startups, I would dwell little into the ideas which you expect coming from a MedTech CoE. So for that, I would quote the NSSO data of 2014, which have found that about 8.9% of rural population got ill in 6 months of time when they studied. And similarly, 11.8% of urban population got ill. Of those, 3.5% of rural population got admitted, while 4.4% of urban population got admitted in hospitals. This includes all kinds of hospitals. Now, if we see largely about 90% of our population was disease-free. So if I would categorize the domain of ideas which will come in medical science to help the society, that would be basically from first domain would be from these 90% of patients, people who are healthy. And their questions are very simple. How do I know I have got ill? And if I get illness, if I identify my illness, what are my options according to my status? And status can be your place of living, difficulty in approaching a medical professional to your socioeconomic status. So that is one domain. Simple ideas can be addressed by software applications like Dr. Saurabh, our mentor, has very clearly defined. And that is what rural population is basically suffering from. And this covers about 90% of population. So it is very sellable, easily developed, small ideas, and extremely sellable. So there will be a lot of profit also at a smaller cost. Then there are people who go to hospital and interact with medical professionals. So these patients, these become patient at some point of time who have been cured. And once they are cured, they may require follow-ups, or they may have been identified with a chronic disease or lifestyle disease. Like about NSSO data says that 70% of our aging population is suffering from some lifestyle disease, hypertension, diabetes. So this is the group of people which makes the second domain, where a lot of application devices are already available. So what we need to do is, these devices need to fit our local need. And our local need is like environment. Our environment is quite different from maybe where it has been developed in, say Norway, Oslo. So that device may not work at a humidity of 80%. So the other thing is our intellect, our education. And I consider that these two are different parameters, and they don't go with they don't go together. So other thing is the ease of procuring it, our socioeconomic status. So that is where the existing technology can be modified to fit the needs of our country, so that it is available to our people and it is working in our environment. And we can use those things. So that is where the concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat comes. So already existing technology to fit into our concept. The third domain is the most niche domain. That is identifying the problems which doctors are dealing fine when they are dealing with the patient. And these are very patient-centric ideas for very specific patients or specific type of surgery, as just quoted, maybe robotic cardiac surgery, which is a very niche of patient. This would be even less than maybe 0.1% of people. But these are the disruptive ideas. These are the real innovative ideas, which would give us more pride, which would place us maybe first in the world. And they have a very high net worth, but definitely very difficult to verify also. So the STPI, I believe, that will cater to all the three kind of ideas. And in open challenges to come in future, those ideas from all three domains would be there, so that all startups have their opportunity to participate with us. The other thing, according to these ideas, I would suggest to startups that they should comprise of people like engineers, medical specialists, and business specialists, marketing specialists. So if your startup has got all three people or panel or consultants which are from all three domains, it would become much more easy for you to work in MedTech area. It would become very easy for you to understand what medical people want. Because if you have a doctor, he can at least make this engineer understand what the doctor is wanting. Because the idea may be floated, and the person who floated the idea, you may not be directly interacting, may not have an opportunity to directly interact with him, but a medical person who is in your group can understand the idea and can make the engineer understand the idea. So I welcome all the startups to participate hugely into our ideas, which will be put in Challenge 2.0. But I believe that there will be many more challenges coming up, as we have to take about 50 plus startups in our MedTech CoE. And I wish all of them well and success to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that wonderful talk, sir, and for identifying the challenges in the healthcare industry. I would now like to introduce to you my next speaker, Dr. Rishirendra Kumar. Dr. Kumar is an IS officer in Uttar Pradesh, 2011 batch, and is currently posted as Special Secretary IIT and Electronics Department, Government of Uttar Pradesh, and also holds the position of Managing Director, Uttar Pradesh Electronics Corporation. He is actively involved in the development of IT parks, formulation of IT policies, and IT startup promotion. Sir, I would request you to please address the audience.
Thank you so much. DG STPI Shri Onkar Rai ji, Rajneesh Agarwal ji, Dr. Saab, Dr. Shantanu Pandey ji from SGPGI, Triple IT Director Saab, and other distinguished guests. And nonetheless, all participating startup for today, the Untitled program. I welcome you all. And as our chief mentor and Dr. Saab established the tone of the today's Untitled program, I would just like to add some little thoughts on government perspective. The policy of the states promotes many specialized things in the area of startups. Like in 2017 policy, we have envisaged that we will set up some center of excellence for sector specific problem and solutions. So STPI, we had collaboration with the STPI, and after many rounds of negotiation and support from Patnaik Saab and Agarwal Saab, we moved forward with the help of SGPGI, Dr. Bhiman Saab, and the first center of excellence in UP in a startup policy went to SGPGI for medical technology or medical electronics. So it was the era of, I think it was before COVID times, and after, in the meantime of COVID and after COVID, we thought that it was a great decision for this setup, and now the emphasis should be to start this center, and some innovative products should flow from the center as soon as possible. So the idea of medical electronics should come on the ground. It was a well thought decision at the level of Chief Secretary Saab and ACS Saab and mighty team. So it was a that kind of environment we started working on a center of excellence. For your information, I would like to add that in new policy of 2020, we are also adding a center of excellence in artificial intelligence with the help of IIT Kanpur. And the setup has been started, and the cabinet has given the approval for that center also. And the third center of excellence is going for fintech technology, which we are trying to shift in the area of Purvanchal region of Uttar Pradesh. So the decentralization of center of excellences should be in all parts of UP. That was a broad idea for government for the parts of development should reach the all parts of the state. For today's program, I got to know that the first round we have selected 8 startups for this center, and the second round is going to be happen today only. And our distinguished guest have elaborated on every aspects of this center of excellence. So I will not take that much of time, and I will wish very best of luck to all the startups who are participating today. And I wish the best ideas and the best technology for the biggest state of India will, with the help of SGPGI, which is the premier institute of not only in our state but all of India, will deliver something good for the welfare, our welfare state and the citizens of our country. Thank you so much, and best of luck again to our startups for participating in this Navono program, and also good luck to STPI, and we are eagerly waiting for the inauguration of this center, as government is regularly asking for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for putting out the perspective of the Uttar Pradesh government on startup policies. In fact, it is my pleasure to now introduce to you our next speaker, Shri Subodh Sachan, Director, STPI Headquarters and CEO of STPI Next Initiatives. He heads Pan-India startup initiatives of STPI, including establishment of domain-specific centers of excellence in emerging technologies like IoT, AI, blockchain, AR, VR, etc. An IIT Roorkee and IIM Bangalore alumnus, a senior professional from the industry who's joined STPI as director after working in the industry at global level at various capacities. I would request you, sir, to talk about the STPI startup ecosystem and centers of entrepreneurship. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Soumya. Respected Director General Dr. Omkar Rai ji, Dr. Saurabh Srivastava, Chief Mentor of MedTech CoE, Dr. Jitendra Sharma, Co-Chief Mentor, also Dr. Sri Rishend Kumar ji, and Dr. Arun Mohan Sheri, Director IIIT Lucknow, Sri Rajneesh ji, Director STPI Noida, Sri Surya ji, Surya Patnaik ji, Anurag and everyone. I think Shantu Pandey ji, Dr. Shantu Pandey as well. All the participants, I think more than 200 people who are listening to us. It's an honor and privilege for STPI and STPI Centers of Entrepreneurship, which we are calling now instead of Center of Excellences, that we are launching another Open Challenge program today. In fact, this is the 33rd Open Challenge program, which is getting launched from all of our centers of entrepreneurship as of today. And out of these 33, 25 have come in last 18 months. And I think as earlier spoken about, that STPI has opened 19 centers of entrepreneurship today. All these centers of entrepreneurship have one very common thing, which is collaboration. I think in the morning we heard Dr. Saurabh Srivastava and also Dr. Jitendra Sharma talk about the collaboration as the key driver and the key enabler to support the entrepreneurship model. In fact, in this particular Center of Entrepreneurship, we are really, privileged to have, not just Government of Uttar Pradesh, but also SGPGI, which is a knowledge center, which is also a premier institute in the health sciences and medical field of medical services, but also academic institutions like IIIT Lucknow, which has just joined in. As I think talked about in the morning half or in the previous my previous speakers, collaboration, especially in the field of healthcare, is really important because when we talk about the collaboration here, it enables an SGPGI by its core knowledge is going to enable right kind of problems and right kind of environment, so that the startups which are developing solutions, they are developing solutions which have a clear resonance with the custom with the patient ecosystem which we're talking about. Well, when we have right collaboration, what it typically helps is, not just in terms of bringing the technology and bringing the solutions faster to the market, but also enabling right kind of pilot and ecosystem. And that's what we have done in each of the Center of Entrepreneurship which we have established. Each of the Center of Entrepreneurship which STPI has enabled collaboration by virtue of having academic, having institutions, having industry, and also having right ecosystem partners in terms of startup ecosystem players is being enabled. While we look into, I think Dr. Jiten Sharma talked about the innovation can happen in the product and solution, but innovation in the form of business is also very important. And hence, when we talk about the business innovation, the role of mentorship, role of mentors really play a very key critical role. And hence, we are very, very blessed within STPI to have a strong mentor ecosystem. Today, almost we have stitched 200 plus various industry stalwarts as mentors, which have which come from various fields, including in the field from health and field in the field of medical field as well. So these 200 plus mentors are really working out to ensure that each startup idea in terms of what they want to develop a product, but also in case you have you want to differentiate with respect to the model of your business model. Also, these mentors are there to help you. Within STPI and STPI Next team, we have also brought in right kind of team, right kind of mindset, so that your journey towards creation of the products and creation of solutions, and your journey towards successful launch of the market can be enabled through institutional support which STPI brings in through its various partners as well. In fact, when you talk about healthcare, today, I think Dr. Saurabh Shrestha talked about earlier, technology is the biggest enabler and for the efficient delivery of healthcare services. This is for any other sector. I think that within the healthcare sector, when we talk about the various constraints which healthcare sector is facing today, I mean, we talked about earlier the trained manpower, availability of healthcare infrastructure, availability of the healthcare equipments, availability of various devices. I think a lot of these areas have certain resources, and hence technology is already playing a critical role and will continue to play a very important role in the healthcare sector. And from this MedTech Center of Excellence, we look forward to supporting startups, not in the devices space alone, but also in the health informatics and health services space. And I think our 8 startups which we have already selected so far, 2 of them are working towards, let's say, AI-powered solutions, but 2 of them are working very core areas of various devices, right? I think this is what we look forward from this MedTech Center, and hence all startups and all entrepreneurs who look forward to having a right kind of a collaborative environment, I think this is the place. MedTech Center of Excellence is a place for you. Through Open Challenge Program 2.0, we look forward to accepting your applications. And today, after this program, the link will be made online, and hence all the startups, they should look into and apply it. From our support ecosystem of mentors and our various experts from the field, we'll just not guide you in terms of how you want to get the market and get the product out, but we'll also help you in case if your idea requires certain changes and you want to require a different pivot altogether. So that's what we look into. Well, I think healthcare is also about convergence. And today, since we are talking, sitting in the edge of various technologies, today there is advancement in the cloud technology, advancement in the sensor technology, advancement in the wireless technologies. There's advancement in the cloud altogether, right? So hence, all these technologies are creating a new platform for new kind of services and new kind of business solutions which can emerge. We already know, and the COVID has given us this important lesson as well, that today there is a lot can be done remotely, and hence the remote patient monitoring ecosystem is growing by and large. And hence, a lot of startups which can focus upon these areas, the new emerging areas, because of the convergence of technologies. I think that's what we will look forward to supporting you as well. So once again, thank you for having me on the platform. And through this platform, I invite all the startups and all the entrepreneurs to come forward and make use of this opportunity with STPI, Ministry of Electronics and IT, and its collaborative ecosystem is creating for you. So thank you, and over to you, Soumya.
Thank you, sir, for putting out the perspective of STPI in facilitating startups. I would now invite our next speaker, Dr. Arun Mohan Sherry. Dr. Sherry is an MSc Gold Medalist, MTech Computer Science, IIT Kharagpur, and PhD. He's a recipient of Anand Sarup Bhatnagar Gold Medal for securing highest marks in postgraduate examination, brilliant student honor by Lions Club in the year 1987 and 89, Indian Icon Award for outstanding accomplishments and excellence in the field of education 2010, and Rabindranath Tagore Samman 2011 for his contribution in the field of technical education. So I would invite you to please address the audience.
Thank you, Soumya. Good afternoon, everyone present here. As far as medical technology is concerned, there are two major components. One is related with the medical science and another one is related with the technology part. So, as far as Indian Institute of Information Technology, Lucknow is concerned, we have expertise in the second part, that is the technology part. And now, if you will see the present scenario, the use of IT is in every domain. If you will see the thoughts of previous speakers, the major focus is on affordable healthcare, and the second major focus is the scalable model, that is the reach of this medical facility to each and every individual of the country. So the use of technology is very, very important. And I am happy to share that at IIIT Lucknow, we developed such type of facilities where we can help the medical professionals, the incubators, the entrepreneurs who wants to enter into the MedTech domain. We have an entrepreneurship cell in collaboration with IIT Kanpur, and we have expertise in the area of artificial intelligence, data science, IoT, and the many areas related with the information technology or areas related to the electronics part. And recently we launched a unique program in the area of business. And the specialization in this MBA program is in digital business. And I am happy to share that IIIT Lucknow is the first institute in the country who started the program in digital business. And here the focus is on entrepreneurship, the innovation part, the project development part, and apart from project development, the process development, the innovation in the process development. For example, if you will see our MBA curriculum, we have a paper related with big data and its application in the area of medical science. IoT, its application in the area of medical science. Machine learning, its application in the area of medical science. So if any startup or any individual wants any support from IIIT Lucknow as far as the technology part is concerned, we will be happy to help them. And the another beauty of our system is there is no need to come physically to the campus for any support or any help, because our many programs and many research and development activities are technology enabled. Even our master's programs in business administration is a technology enabled program, and it's specially designed for keeping in mind the requirement of working professional or those who are running their own startups. Apart from that, we have a very good research and development center, because in my opinion, to run a startup or run a MedTech center of excellence, the core is the R&D activity. So we have PhD program, we have research and development labs, we have faculty members who can help these startups in a particular domain. Apart from that, we have some short-term and specialized program. Again, keeping in mind the requirement of the startups and working professionals. For example, we have postgraduate diploma programs in IoT. And we have flexibility to customize that program as per the need of an individual or for an individual organization. For example, if a group of startups are interested in IoT for healthcare, so we can customize that program keeping in mind the requirement of that particular group of people. Similarly, we have a program in data science. If some of the startups or some of the incubation centers, they want to use this data science in the area of healthcare, so we will be happy to provide all the support for such startup. Similarly, we have a center of excellence in the area of artificial intelligence. So the use of artificial intelligence in the area of healthcare, our many faculty members are doing research work in this particular domain. So I will be very happy, or my institute will be very happy to support such type of initiative or such type of support to all these startups who are working in this particular area. And as far as the location of this institute is concerned, because this is a new institute, many people are not aware about the location. We are in the IT city of Lucknow, which is in Chankanjaria region, and near to Kana Stadium, which is nearby. And so we have a separate space exclusively designed for startups. So anyone wants to approach us or wants any support in this regard, we will be happy to support them. My best wishes to all the startups who are associated with this MedTech CoE, and we will be very happy to support them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for putting out the perspective of IIIT Kanpur in helping entrepreneurs kickstart their journey. Thanks a lot. It is my privilege to introduce Dr. Rajneesh Agrawal, my next speaker. Dr. Rajneesh Agrawal is the Director, STPI Noida, along with statutory responsibilities with regard to STPI and EHTP schemes. He is profoundly contributing to the growth of high-speed data communication services, incubation services, implementation of IBPS, NGIS, and setting up of Center of Entrepreneurship for the new and emerging technologies like blockchain, MedTech, FinTech, ESTM, AI, data analytics, etc., across various cities under his jurisdiction. In past 7 years, he has spearheaded the infrastructure development projects for creating conducive environment for IT, ITES, and ESTM industries in projects, Entrepreneur Park for promotion of startups in ESTM sector in association with Delhi University and IESA. Dr. Rajneesh Agrawal has been actively involved in formulation of policies and measures by the government in the IT and ESTM sector, like preferential market access, national policy on electronics, electronics manufacturing clusters, electronics development fund, etc. He has immense experience of more than 33 years in working in various sectors, including academia, media, and IT ESTM industry. Prior to joining STPI in 2014, he served Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology (METI) for about 28 years in various capacities. During his responsibilities in METI, he initiated a number of projects for ASEAN, Asian Development Bank, Africa, etc., and also represented India in ICT sector in UNDP, World Bank, ASEAN, European Union, ADB, etc. He is 1987 batch Indian Engineering Services Officer and worked in Ministry of INB. He has also served as a lecturer in MNNIT Allahabad. Dr. Rajneesh Agrawal has been educated in University of Allahabad, from where he earned his BTech and MTech degrees in electronics. Dr. Rajneesh Agrawal was also awarded PhD degree in Cognitive Wireless Network. He has also authored numerous books and study material in data communications and computer networking area, and published a number of articles and papers, international and national journals. Recently, he authored a book on Krishna. So I would request sir to please address the audience on Navonmesh. And so it is definitely an honor for me to have introduced you, and your achievements are indeed remarkable. I would like to now hand over the stage to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Soumya, for reading my detailed, quite elaborate this profile. And the next time I will keep this profile quite brief. I was observing that it is quite lengthy. Okay. Namaskar and good afternoon to everyone. And I am very happy to see that we are going exactly by the time of our program. All speakers, everyone has taken their due time only for expressing themselves, for enlightening us. Onset, I extend my warm greetings and welcome to all eminent speakers present on this digital dais. Dr. Onkar Rai, DG STPI, Dr. Saurabh Srivastava, Chief Mentor of this MedTech CoE, and he is involved in several activities. And right now he is not available on this digital dais as he has to leave for some other important assignment or some important work. But his words really work for us, and I think that 200 participants who are viewing this particular program, their words must have enlightened them. My greetings to Sri Risen Kumar, Special Secretary IT and Electronics, Government of UP. And I will always appreciate his cooperation and his support for not only for this CoE, but also for other activities in UP. And before this pandemic, I used to meet him very regularly, almost on every month basis, for discussing many issues of STPI. I again extend my greeting to Dr. Santanu Pandey from SGPGI, Lucknow, Dr. Jiten Sharma, who is also left this dais because of other work, but his practical views, I think, is very, very much valuable and helpful to the entrepreneurs and the startup community who are connected with us today on this digital dais. I extend my greeting to Sri Arun Mohan, Dr. Arun Mohan Seri, Director IIT Lucknow, and he has told about what facilities are available there with them in IIT Lucknow. And he has also offered those facilities to the entrepreneurs to come and use those facilities. My greetings to Sri Subodh Sachan, my colleague in STPI. He is also CEO for STPI Next. Sri Surya Patnaik, officer in charge, and Anurag Burma, who is our Chief Operating Officer of this MedTech CoE. then partners, stakeholder of CoE, all jurisdictional directors who are connected today, and other participants who are connected here. I am indeed very delighted to be part of this launch of this Navomens or this Open Challenge Program 2 of MedTech CoE. And as Surya in his detailed presentation or in detailed address told about this MedTech CoE and told about the various stakeholders, we have stakeholders from all fields, and we are always open to include more partners into our this MedTech CoE journey. And today we are going to open this second Open Challenge program, and immediately after this address, and we will inviting ideas from startup, budding entrepreneurs, researchers, and academicians who are working or have idea in medical electronics and health informatics domain would be able to submit their ideas in our centralized portal. The detail will be shared with you all during this launch. Among several center of entrepreneurships which have been set up for across the country by STPI, this Center of Entrepreneurship, earlier we used to call it Center of Excellence. Now we have renamed as Center of Entrepreneurship. And I will say another thing here. Earlier we used to be incubators. We provide to the incubation services, but now I will say that we have progressed ourselves in such a manner that now we are not only incubation centers, we are the innovation centers. And keeping in mind the same thing, we are now setting up Center of Entrepreneurship instead of Center of Excellences. And this Center of Entrepreneurship, I am not going to tell about the objectives of this Center of Excellence. All previous speakers have already told about this Center of Entrepreneurship and how this Center of Entrepreneurship can develop affordable kind of medical systems, medical kind of devices, health informatics system for the benefit of the country as well as for the benefit of the human kind. And it is expected that such an effort will certainly enhance the innovative and technological capabilities of our entrepreneurs in the region, particularly, and in general across the country also, because this Open Challenge program is 2.0 is open for all kind of participants across the country. So it will add into enhancing not only to participate here, but also to enhancing their technological and innovative capabilities, because as you people have already witnessed that we have so good galaxies of the mentors who have already addressed. We have Padam Shri, or you can say Dr. Saurabh Srivastava as a chief mentor, Dr. Jiten Sharma as a co-chief mentor, who is running this ANTZ, which is producing more than 1,000 oxygen concentrator. And you can see their wavelength, you can see the spectrum of knowledge, and all those knowledge spectrum is available to all entrepreneurs or startup who are coming to join this Center of Entrepreneurship in SGPGI in Lucknow. And as I have told already that in OCP 1.0, we could only selected 8 Center of Entrepreneurs, 8 startups. Though we have selected more startups than 8, we had selected about 18 startups, but because of this pandemic and this COVID situation, many of the startups have withdrawn, and they told that they are not right now willing to work in this particular area. They have started some other area for pursuance. And as you people are know that this role of artificial, or we can see that this today's medical electronics or meditech kind of startup, we cannot deny the role of AI. We cannot deny the role of advanced robotics kind of technologies, which will help in surgery and other kind of opportunities in this healthcare sector. And as Dr. Jiten Sharma have very clearly mentioned that there is no limitation for the ideas, no limitation for any startup to think that whether this Center of Entrepreneurship at Meditech can provide that kind of facility on it. They can come in robotics kind of surgery also. They can come in any kind of smart operation theater kind of application. And this medical, this Center of Entrepreneurship, with in association with their partners like SGPGI, AIMED, AMTZ, is ready to provide all kind of support to our startup. I will not take much time here, because after this we are going to inaugurate our this or you can say launch our OCP 2.0, and all previous speakers, they have covered I think in detail all aspects of this Meditech Center of Entrepreneurship. And after me, my DG, Dr. Omkar Rai, he is also supposed to give a keynote address, and he will also like to cover many aspects of this MedTech Center of Entrepreneurship. With this, I just close my address, and I wish and I will request all participants who are attending this webinar today as a entrepreneur, as a startup community, please come forward. Please spread word of mouth to their friends who are interested in innovation, who are interested in doing something new, something good for the country. Please apply in abundance for this Center of Entrepreneurship. This program is going to be launched today, and you will get the detail today. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you for listening patiently.
Thank you, Rajneesh sir, for that wonderful talk. I would now, in fact, it is my extreme privilege to introduce to you our chief guest today, Dr. Omkar Rai, who is the Director General STPI, which is the premier government organization working for the promotion of IT, ITES, ESDM industry in India. Dr. Rai has contributed immensely in repositioning STPI with focus on innovation and dispersal of IT, ESDM industry beyond metros. He brings over 25 years of experience in IT, ESDM sector, having unique distinction of working very closely with government and IT, ESDM industry. May I request you, sir, to please launch the Open Challenge Program 2.0 from the digital dais. Host, to please play the curtain raiser and launch video.
Sure. So it's launched.
Great. Okay. With the permission of our chief guest, sir.
Let it slide. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. With your permission, sir, I shall be playing a small video of the infrastructure and facilities at MedTech CoE at Lucknow. Host, please play the video. I would now request Dr. Omkar Rai, sir, to please deliver the keynote address.
Thank you, ma'am. The dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Rajneesh Agrawal, Dr. Shantanu Pandey, Sri Subodh Sachan, Sri Patnaik, Sri Anurag Verma, and I would also remind that we had before Sri Saurabh Srivastava, our past chairman, NASCOM, Dr. J.K. Sharma, Jiten Sharma, CEO, AMTZ, Vizag, Director of IIIT, Lucknow, and such other eminent experts with us. At the time of this launch of OCP 2.0, we call it known mesh. I'm very glad to be here, and I must congratulate the entire MedTech team, SDPGI, STPI, and other stakeholders, MedTech team, for launching the second second season of screening process. I must remind or share the participants here, upcoming entrepreneurs, young boys and girls, budding entrepreneurs, you call, that you are being exposed to a very great large family of ecosystem. Software Technology Parks of India have already launched 19 Center of Entrepreneurship, and it is set to launch 6 more. Any field, all the emerging technologies like AI, IoT, blockchain, AR, VR, data analytics, and such others, apart from the domain-specific centers of excellence like MedTech, FinTech, autonomous, connected vehicle, agri-tech, and such other technology-focused sectors. What we are trying to do is that we are trying to create these center of entrepreneurship so networked to each other that any young boy and girl getting selected through this process, being onboarded in a particular center of entrepreneurship, can access to all the services, facilities, labs, mentors, chief mentors, which are connected to our ecosystem, and they can access that from anywhere they want. They must rest assured that we are the kind of ecosystem and service providers where we are bringing best of the world. We are bringing industry leaders to our fold. We are bringing mentors from the industry. We are bringing ecosystem partners, domain-specific partners. For example, for the Center of Entrepreneurship in MedTech, we are working with SCPGI Lucknow itself, where you will not only be nurtured, but you will also get the able support from the doctors and experts from that medical college. Apart from the problem statement that you will have from there, apart from their labs, apart from their clinics, you can access, you can test your idea, you can validate your idea. And therefore, the kind of center of entrepreneurship that STPI is trying to bring is a very realistic, collaborative ecosystem that you require. It's a 360-degree support that we are actually offering. As I said, we are so networked that you will have all sorts of support, will access all those centers of excellence, center of entrepreneurship, and the labs, chief world-class mentors and all. Apart from that, you will also be able to get access to the Ministry of Electronics and IT Startup Hub program, which is a salient program, a flagship program of ministry to offer a platform to the mentors, to the investors, to the startups, to the best practices, to the best standards, to access to the know-how, access to the knowledge, access to the mentors, and access to the government. Most importantly, in terms of policy formulation, in terms of any ease of doing business, in terms of any intervention that you require from the government, so that you can, convert your ideas into product and you can implement your product in real life scenario in the government without any regulatory botheration. And therefore, STPI is uniquely positioned because of its obvious collaborative model to offer you one-stop shop solution, whatever you require in the field of entrepreneurship in the domain where you want to work. I must say that this medical technology, health tech sector is fast growing. We have seen the kind of experience that we had during this lockdown period, during this crisis period that the entire entire civilization faced. And therefore, we understood the importance of telehealth, telemedicine, and all such things, wherein we can access all those services and support from the experts, from the doctors, from wherever they are. Apart from that, we also require, world-class variables, world-class, home monitoring tools, so that your young children, your old men, your agile people, they can be, monitored. And therefore, you must not be surprised that this sector has become a sector where a lot of unicorns, several unicorns are fast emerging, whether it is pharma sector, whether it is MedTech sector, or even for that matter, EdTech sector. And therefore, the entire requirement of a skill intervention of these upcoming emerging Industry 4.0 technologies are very important. And I must say that during this process of evaluation, screening, you will be exposed to the world-class mentors who will ask questions from you. There will be a peer, dialogue, peer competition. And therefore, from this entire process, entire journey, if you are selected, you will be onboarded in our MedTech Center of Entrepreneurship. Even if you are not selected, you will stand gain from the kind of experience you will have from this screening process, because your ideas, your projections, your project will be exposed to the people, world-class people, experts, and therefore you will in fact get few insight as to how to do entrepreneurship, how to actually convert your ideas into tacit business proposal. I must say that our team at STPI Lucknow, Medical SGPGI Lucknow, I must thank Director SGPGI Lucknow, Professor Dhiman, and Professor Santanu Pandey, apart from the representative from the government of Uttar Pradesh, and our chief mentor, Sri Saurabh Srivastava, who is the most valuable industry veteran in India, who himself is chief mentor in this entire effort. And therefore, I must assure all of you who are participating here that you are being given nurtured by the world-class people who are very sincere and experts in this field. And once selected, you will be offered, nurtured with the best hands, and you will get everything required for converting your ideas into product, and thereafter exposing your products to the market, to the investors. So I must wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your views, thoughts, and vision with the audience. And the MedTech team at Lucknow reassures to meet your expectations very soon. Now I would call upon Anurag Verma, sir, to please give the formal vote of thanks. But before I hand over the stage to him, let me just very quickly introduce you to him. Shri Anurag Verma is Chief Operating Officer of MedTech CoE Lucknow. He's having more than 22 years of experience in IT industry and entrepreneurial ventures. He's worked with various global software giants and held various senior positions in diversified domains of technology, strategy, and management, and majorly worked in payment, telecom, and MedTech domains. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Soumya. And good afternoon to all the dignitaries, stakeholders, and startup community and the vast audience. I am very excited with the launch of second MedTech Open Challenge program, and it is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks. So I'm thankful to our chief guest, Dr. Omkar Rai sir, Dr. General STPI, for launching the MedTech OCP 2.0. We are very fortunate to work under the guidance of such a dynamic decision maker and the visionary leadership that is required for the agile and ever-changing environment. We thank him for his continued guidance and support towards promoting and enabling the startup ecosystem in the country. We are thankful for his vision to realign STPI, keeping in the view of the need of the industry today and the near future, all this in line with the policies of the government to make India Atmanirbhar. Thank you, sir. So next, I would like to thank Saurabh Srivastava. However, he is not there right now. He participated, and I would like to thanks to him for his vision and Vista ethos, which will accelerate the momentum and give new altitude to the beneficiary startup under MedTech Center of Entrepreneurship. And so together we now have the responsibility to drive this program successfully and set up a roadmap for entrepreneurs. So again, I would like to thank Rajneesh sir for his valuable guidance, his blessings, and his insights into the new initiative which are being driven by the government of India. Sir, we have aspiration under your leadership, and even during these challenging times, we are committed to support the startups in every possible ways, be it the mentorship, be it funding, or be it collaboration between startups for the better resource utilization. Your vigilance and detailed approach towards work has set a benchmark for us. Thank you, sir. And I express my great thanks to Dr. Arun Mohan Shari, sir, Director IIIT Lucknow, for his support and direction in all these years, and assuring all his support to our startups, mainly in the field of AI. I am looking forward to your guidance in all your future endeavors. I would like to thank Sri Subodh Sachan, Director STPI Headquarters, for his effort in bringing the standardization in the processes among all the COEs that have already been set up and that are going to set up, and which have been launched so far, and also for the remaining Center of Entrepreneurship, which are in the pipeline in a smooth way. The standardization will go a long way. Thank you, sir. Next speaker, I would like to thank Shri Rishirendra Kumar, Special Secretary IT and Electronics, Government of UP, for his address and giving assurance and all his support from Government of Uttar Pradesh. So Dhiman sir couldn't join today, but I would like to thank for all his support he extended from all the community with his SGPGI. And I would like to thank to Dr. Shantanu Pandey for your interest and firm commitment for supporting the startup activities. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Jiten Sharma ji for being present today and guiding us and guiding this Center of Entrepreneurship and taking active interest in all our startups and always being proactive to support the startup ecosystem. And last, I would say thanks to Sri Surya sir for setting up the tone of the event with his welcome address. And in last, I would like to thank and extend a warm regards to all the mentors, partners, organizers, the team of STPI and STPI Next for their continued support and guidance to our startup ecosystem, which has helped them in making their ideas into reality and thereby realizing the objective of organization and the vision of making India Atmanirbhar. We would also like to thank the startup community for being such a patient audience and making note of all the opportunities and facilities that are being made available to them to make their dreams come true. I would like to once again ask all the startups to leverage this opportunity by participating in the Open Challenge program and convert their ideas to reality. I heard thanks to Soumya ji for especially coming out and making this event happen. It could not have been possible without your support. Thank you all. Thank you very much. For the audience, as Surya sir mentioned already, that our next session is Tech Talk session, where we have invited Mr. Neeraj Jha, founder of Hanuman, Ms. Romita Ghosh, founder of iHealth Health Tech Private Limited, Mr. Gaurav Parchani, co-founder of Doji, Mr. Lalit Ranjan, co-founder of MedTech. This session will be focused on disruptive innovation in MedTech for a healthier tomorrow. So with that note, again, thanks everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Anurag. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rajneesh ji. Thank you, sir.
We can continue this session on the same link.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Surya ji. Thanks, Anurag. Thanks,
Thank
Soumya.
you.
Thanks,
The panel members. Now I can see all the participants here and welcome them on this tech session. I, Anurag Verma, CEO of MedTech CoE at STPI Lucknow, will be with you for next 45 to 60 minutes to moderate this entire program. For attendees, I am sure that everyone would have joined the launch of Open Challenge program before this session and would have made note of all the opportunities and facilities that are being made available for them to make their dreams come true. I would like to once again urge all the startups to leverage this opportunity by participating in this Open Challenge program and convert their ideas to reality. So now I would take this opportunity to welcome our eminent guests and speakers at this event. Mr. Neeraj Jha, founder and CEO at Hanuman. Ms. Romita Ghosh, founder at iHeal Health Tech Private Limited and Admiras. Mr. Gaurav Parchani, co-founder at Dozy. Dr. Lalit Ranjan, co-founder at MedTech, and Sri Sanjay Kumar, additional director, STPI Lucknow, and Sri Subodh Sachand sir, director, STPI headquarters, and Sri Surya Patnaik, scientist F and office in charge, Lucknow STPI. So before I get started, just a little housekeeping. If any audience, if anyone from our audience have any questions during the session, please type them into the chat box in your WebEx control panel. I will bring them up at the end of the session. So today's topic is disruptive innovation in MedTech for a healthier tomorrow, which is in line with our Open Challenge program's theme, that is Navonmesh, the new age vanguard of novel ideas in medical environs for secure health. In Sanskrit, Navonmesh means innovation. So here we are talking about disruptive innovation in healthcare, which is a type of innovation that creates new networks, new organizational cultures involving new players, and that has the potential to improve health outcomes and the value of healthcare. This innovation displaces older systems and way of doing things. So disruptive innovations are complex and multidimensional and can be categorized in 5 dimensions. One is typology of business model, fluency of implementation, health purposes, field of application, and pivoting values. The implementation of any disruptive innovation should carefully address the issue of relevance, equity, quality, cost effectiveness, person and people centeredness, and sustainability. Health policy should be designed to encourage enablers for developing and implementing disruptive innovations and reduce the potential barriers. Disruptive innovations can be an important mechanism for important health and improvement health and healthcare in India. Disruptive innovations provide new and different perspective that in the long run tend to reduce cost and complexity in favor of improved access and the empowerment of the citizen and patients. So some of the nation's most innovative companies have launched initiatives, large and small, to disrupt healthcare's status quo. The main aim is to deliver the better healthcare in most cost-effective and efficient way in locations that are easily accessible, affordable, and more desirable for consumers to use. Large retailers and technology giants are playing a larger role in healthcare innovations, and new models of consumer services and engagement, digital health technology, and human interactions augmented with artificial intelligence, scientific breakthroughs, and technological advancement in the precision diagnostics, precision medicines, patient monitoring, and drug discovery and delivery for targeted therapies are paving the way for patient-centric care and a shift from the fields of focus on illness to sustaining health and well-being. In today's session, we have panelists from successful startups who are founders and co-founders of the company and came from different regions of India. They have solved one or other problems, and I'm sure that their innovative ideas are going to disrupt the healthcare, health tech space, and I would take this opportunity to congratulate them for their significant contribution towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. I once again welcome all the panelists, audience, and entrepreneurs attending this session. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to the first speaker to address the audience on the topic Anywhere Access to the Care. So before going to next speaker, I would like to give brief introduction about him. He is the founder and CEO at Hanuman. Hanuman stands for Health Accessible in Need and Utility for Mankind. It is an Indian startup established in June 2020, offers EMS transformation. Hanuman is a digital app-based health tech solution provider to create an impact by promoting comprehensive healthcare solution to accelerate response time and mobilize medical facilities in rural and urban India. Hanuman was initially conceptualized to offer an integrated aggregator emergency healthcare and ambulance services across Bihar, which during pandemic wave 1 and wave 2 served across Bihar. Hanuman offers home diagnostics, home nursing home, ECG checkups, home emergency first response, post-surgical dressings, nebulization, insulin administration, ECG checkups, fatal Doppler, and also offers end-to-end home corporate ICU setups for COVID, non-COVID patients and cremation if needed. Neeraj has done his MBA and MPhil degree in hospital and health systems from BITS Pilani and Christian Medical College, Vellore. He is a healthcare leader and extensive experience in hospital operations, quality management, business development, handling P&L, marketing of SEOs, social initiative, technology rolls out, clinical data management, etc. So now over to Neeraj.
Thank you, Anurag ji. First of all, thanks a lot for inviting me here as a panelist. So the first session that I attended is a great learning experience for me. Hearing Dr. Omkar Rai ji, Dr. Arun Mohan ji, Rajnish Agrawal ji, all together is a great learning experience for me. And the way they have explained the role of startups, the role of technology, the role of bringing new ideas to the conservative businesses and to solve a problem. It's something that is really required to come from horse's mouth, and people like them, if they speak about this, the younger generation like ours get motivated, and we step out of our boxes to come forward and innovate something that we always wanted to do. If you may please allow me to share PPT.
Maybe you can share yourself, it seems, Neeraj. Otherwise, I will ask host to share the screen, share the slide.
Visible now.
Yes, yes, it is visible.
Make into presentation mode. Okay, fine.
So the topic is access to care everywhere, and basically how we define care is the provision of what is necessary for health, welfare, maintenance, and protection of someone or something. So when we understand in healthcare, in medicine, the typical patient life cycle is something like the typical patient life cycle is something like this. So a patient requires consultancy, a patient requires ambulances, a patient may require hospital for hospitalization, admissions, may require diagnostic test within hospital, outside hospital, may require medicine and post-discharge care as a wide segment, starting from physiotherapy to post-surgical dressing. And even for the consultation part, if you think it may be a clinic, it may be a hospital, it may be a digital dispensary, it may be somewhere like a home care kind of service. So the problem that usually happens in a patient life cycle is of access. And when we say that we want to solve a problem of access, it is basically a few parameters where I define that has problem of accessibility in India and abroad as well. So discovery is the first challenge that we have. So we have a lot of healthcare services in and around, but how to discover it? And discovery is not just finding one. Discovery is like comparing one with the other. So today, if I want to have anything from a mobile device or a shoe, I can have comparisons. I can discover the product, what brand I want to have, what price range I can have, in how much time I can actually get it delivered at my doorstep, or you can go to a shop. So all kind of discoveries you can do, but if you talk about healthcare, such discoveries are difficult. You cannot actually put filters on a lot many things that you actually wanted to. So if I want to get a gallbladder surgery to be done, I want to see that I want to get it done by a doctor who is qualified and with 5 years of experience, who has a log of 500 gallbladder surgeries, and the price range should be near about 30 to 40,000, and it should be with some insurance companies and panel. But that is actually not possible today to put a lot of filters like this while selecting a doctor or a hospital kind of thing. Then geography is again a problem wherein a rural patient or even an urban patient, he want to have an access to a clinic or a hospital. So geographical challenges are there both for the institutions to establish and for the consumers to actually reach to these geographies. Transparency again is a very major problem which hurt healthcare by and large. So I have a pretty good 10 years of experience in healthcare, and I believe that this is one problem which need to be solved, or else healthcare in India will not grow in the pace that it should have grown. Today, you only know that how much a doctor is going to charge as a consultation fee. Other than that, most of the things are opaque. When you enter a hospital, the charges usually go like a petrol meter, and you have no idea, no clue that what will be the package, what will be the cost that you will incur if your patient is in ICU, what will be the cost if your patient is undergoing certain procedure or certain surgery. It is mostly vague, or post de facto you are told that these are the procedures performed, some urinary catheters given, some Riles tube given, and so XYZ are your charges and totality in this. So that becomes a confusion, and most of the vandalism that we see in healthcare settings is because of non-transparent opacity in not only in prices but also in communicating, which is the second point. So in communicating the exact journey of the care that the patient has gone through. So there are bed sores which is being developed. There are urine output which is going down and the doctor is not informed. There are other kind of ventilator associated pneumonia which is being developed. The fever as a hospital infection, hospital acquired infection get developed. But all these things are not communicated to the patient in real time, and most of the time there is a problem in communication. And from the consumer end also, if you see, so even if I find a hospital or a clinic, so discovery is solved, geography is solved, it is transparent, it is saying that I have X doctor, I have Y charges, but how good a healthcare setting is communicative. So if you put a request on their website, or if you put a request for scheduling an appointment, or if you request some clinical expert to talk to you that whether your patient having X problem, say for example cancer, will it be good for you to visit the hospital? So how good communicative they are. And lastly, cost is also an aspect. So if you solve all these, and a patient actually want a service in his price range or free of cost, so are government services available online, or are government services discoverable easily? Say for suppose Ayushman Bharat has lot of hospital empanelments pan India, but every hospital display the kind of empanelment they have, but for a common public, for a common beneficiary of PMJY, they are finding it difficult to find a hospital for their exact requirement of specialty. So Ayushman Bharat display an orthopedic hospital also as an empaneled hospital, and a common public move to the hospital believing that it is an Ayushman hospital having all kind of facility, whereas the empanelment is only for the orthopedic facility. And lastly, compliance has also issues in access. So technology like portable ultrasound machines are available across globe, but you cannot use it in India only because of this PCPNDT compliance. So is it possible to solve the requirement of PCPNDT through technology, and that will give a wider access to the technology for the consumer and for the clinicians in the market that we are talking to? Majorly, the point that I would like to stress on the upcoming entrepreneurs, the budding entrepreneurs who want to solve a problem, who want to put their best. So everyone must think to challenge a status quo. And for challenging a status quo, you must first acknowledge the problem. हमारे टाइम में क्या होता था कि usually we were discouraged to ask questions. So unless you ask questions, unless you understand that this is a problem, say for suppose a very specific healthcare scenario I'll put forward. So in a hospital setting, a doctor in his morning round most often shouts on nurses that urine output is not adequately measured. So can we put sensors on a urine bag which actually trigger alarm if the urine output is less or if the urine output is more? But unless you don't accept, unless you don't acknowledge that this is a problem and keep shouting on someone or try to do some kind of process improvement by your managerial acumen and not putting technology to it, I don't think it is going to solve. So first step is to acknowledge the problem and then understand the process, how it is done. I see my IT team working, and I love to see, it is a treat to see the IT team working on the kind of problems that we come up with. So that is basic maths or a basic process design that they do, and then they translate into some kind of technology. So understanding the process, understanding your particular domain, and then understanding the technology will certainly change a lot of things that we are currently facing. So challenging the status quo is the most important thing. We must ask questions why it is happening and does it need a change. So that is a must for all kind of entrepreneur in any business, health tech, fintech, all kind of problem. Unless you understand the problem, acknowledge it, and then intervene through technology, that is the best way to do. So we all should read a lot of upcoming technologies in and around the world. So if I see a problem and I know that there are some technologies which is already working in some fintech kind of problem, or it is working in some edtech kind of solutions. So why not to experiment with that in healthcare? So when we started Hanuman, we thought that if pizza can be delivered in 15 minutes at your doorstep, why not a healthcare staff just to help you out? So even if a doctor is there at your next door, it is very difficult to knock a door at midnight and ask for help. So if you can get online help, that is the best way that you can expand your market of paramedical services and also the medical services. So how actually technology help in medicine and healthcare? Digital technologies could help transform unsustainable healthcare system into sustainable ones, equalize the relationship between medical professionals and patients, provide cheaper, faster, and more effective solution of diseases. So why I am saying unsustainable healthcare system? Because see, it is so ununiformly distributed. We have hospitals in every nook and corner of our town. We have hospitals even in rural space, but it is so unevenly distributed that every patient want to rush to a larger city. So for patients in rural of Kanpur, they want to come to Lucknow, whereas there may be good hospital in Kanpur. So the discovery of those services are not easy. The communication with those services are not easy. So the hospital, a very good hospital at Kanpur may be unsustainable, whereas a relatively poor hospital at Lucknow may be more sustainable in terms of finances. So we need to equalize the relationship between the medical professionals and patients, and we need to evenly distribute the load, and this can be easily done with the help of technology. few emerging tech, health tech especially, that is going to change the entire landscape of medicine is artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality. All these three together, if you see, artificial intelligence, we are putting a lot of stress on clinical decision support systems, predictive analysis of the diseases. It is now more easy to put intelligence to a machine than to put intelligence into a human mind. So through artificial intelligence, X-ray can be scanned and a TB can be detected at the remotest of the villages. So these technology, at some point of time, someone thought that can be used in medicine. That is why now we are yielding results out of it. So I request and I believe that every entrepreneur mindset must read a lot of technologies, upcoming technologies and their uses in different fields so that we can actually apply it in our real life problems. Virtual reality and augmented reality, on the other hand, are very good tools for learnings in medicine. So surgery can be planned. A tutorial class on very advanced robotic surgeries can be given. A rural space, a doctor, a junior doctor in the rural space can be trained through virtual and augmented reality. So a lot of things can be changed. The competence can be enhanced through these technologies. Then comes IoT, which is Internet of Things, and it has all kind of variables that we use. So today, a person sitting in USA can monitor their parents sitting in Lucknow or at some villages in Bihar. So the IoT has made life easy. You can actually have digital stethoscope. You can actually have ECG live ECGs, and that is helping the medtech companies, especially the telemedicine, has now been accepted by the public because of the phygital model. So there is a paramedic in Hanuman model also. We help a lot of telemedicine providers by sending our paramedics to the patient's home. They do the real-time monitoring of the patient, like blood pressure, oximetry, stethoscope, and the data is being transferred to the tech companies, the e-medicine companies, and then the level of care goes up. So medical tricorder is again a kind of technology which enables device on a real-time diagnosis like ECG, like fetal Doppler. So a lot of things which usually I was a part of a team of Niti Aayog project, and I was visiting PHCs in Bihar and Jharkhand, and I was surprised that there were ECG machines in PHCs, but there were no one to use it because there were no ECG specialist technicians there. So today we have ECG machine which do ECG. They train even on the video, and you can actually have live ECG reporting and consultations as well. So the time is changing, and with the technology in place, the right technology at the right time at the right place will actually solve a lot of problem in healthcare. Uh, we have seen the revolutionizing drug in times of COVID. 2 साल के अंदर वैक्सीनेशन डेवलप हो गई एंड करोड़ों लोगों को वैक्सीन दे दी गई है. That is something which is commendable, and we have fought so many diseases in past, and this current era wherein we are entering, I personally believe that we are entering into a era wherein we will be fighting more COVID-like situations in future. Genome sequencing is one thing wherein US has invested insane kind of money into it, and tomorrow we may see a lot of predictive diseases in our generations. We can actually predict the upcoming diseases. Nanotechnology, robotics, and 3D printing. Through 3D printing, now we can print tissue like bone, we can print tissue like liver, and these technologies are actually changing the entire surgical domain and saving a lot of limbs and lives in reality. Nanotechnology and robotics are again a very high-end kind of technology which is widely used in medicine, and because of the cost part, which again a lot of companies are working on to bring down the cost of these technologies so that the uses may further be widened. At Hanuman, we have tried to solve few problems pertaining to discovery of the services, which we believe that there was a poor accessibility of ambulance providers and first responders in our localities. Expected time of arrival of these services, not only of ambulances, were very high. So when you call one ambulance, finding it from Google or calling some pharma shop or calling for some hospital, the distance actually is not calculated. You don't know whether there will be an ambulance or not. So with the kind of geography that we are working in, we have an app-based service. We also have a call-based service. We also have WhatsApp automation. So with all these services, we have made the discovery of ambulances, the diagnostics nearby, and home healthcare settings very transparent. And we have made a very simplistic design of our app, and also accept call on our call centers. And we have currently 350 plus ambulances live location in Bihar. We are also present in Jharkhand. We are also present in Navi Mumbai, and the entire Delhi NCR we have covered. We usually what we do now is give a clear picture of all the diagnostic front end in a Zomato model kind of thing. So you can actually see the diagnostic centers in your PIN code areas. You can actually see ambulances in your PIN code areas, and the nearest possible and the price comparison both are very transparently delivered. And then the sample collections and all kind of logistic support is also given by our company. So we have got a very good traction because of these specific, because of the transparency that we have maintained, and the kind of service that we came up with. We were the first company which came as an Ola model of ambulances, and also in setting up this entire paramedic network, which is one of the largest network in Bihar, Jharkhand. So today we have one paramedic in every panchayat level, and you can have an access of a medical facility from any nook and corner of Bihar. So that is all that we have done so far. Thank you all.
Thank you, Neeraj. For sharing all this information and thoughts on the topic anywhere access to care. And one thing I would like to add, like in first session, Dr. Jiten Sharma ji, our co-chief mentor, has mentioned Hanuman, that you are doing a great job in process innovation side. So thank you, and thank you for your views on the technology. So without taking much time, I would like to invite our next speaker, Ms. Romita Ghosh. Before going to her, I would like to introduce her. She is the founder, CEO of two startups, iHeal Health Tech and Admirers. Romita commenced her research work in cancer as a student at the Tata Cancer Center. However, a zealous desire to see tangible changes in the patient's life made her shift from academia to the industry. Empowered with the experience and understanding the knowledge about the healthcare ecosystem from various standpoints, she has founded, learned, and startup again. Besides holding a double major in biotechnology and biochemistry and an MBA, Romita is also an alumnus of IIM Udaipur, Stanford, and has been an ICMR research fellow at IIT Hyderabad. So recently, Romita appeared on TV in Network 18, Jeetenge Hum. She was also featured by Your Story, NASCOM, Cherry Blair Foundation, and Entrepreneur. Romita was presented Hindustan Times Women Award at Lucknow by Shri Yogi Adityanath, Honorable Chief Minister UP. Her latest foray into design innovation made her one of the 3 winners selected by MyGov, UN Women and European Union at the Sri Shakti COVID Challenge She is also among the top 30 tech supergirl in 2021. Romita has been playing an active role in India's startup ecosystem, a keen believer in giving back. She loves to mentor new founders. So over to Romita.
Thank you, Anuragji, for inviting me here. And thank you to the other panelists. And congratulations for the successful launch. When I started up in 2009, back then we did not have the ecosystem that we have today. And I'm so happy that this is such a right moment to start up because the government is supporting us. There are partners like all the public and private sectors are coming up together, and the strong policy that right now we have, Make in India, Vocal for Local and all. And post-COVID, this is the time to be in MedTech sector. And I would be covering a small part of the MedTech sector, which is the home healthcare. So what is the need for home healthcare? So post-COVID or during the pandemic, we have seen that overnight, some devices like pulse oximeter and in the second wave, oxygen concentrator became a home, very common name. But did we know about them some time back? No. So there is a very strong need to have care in the home, looking at the pandemic and also looking at the lack of accessibility. Like Dr. Jha said, so earlier we did not care about the kind of population that could not access hospitals. And even if they are accessing that, at what cost? So looking at the doctor-patient ratio, very poor ratio that we have in India, or the lack of secondary and tertiary care, increasing geriatric population, and the economics and the limited government infrastructure are all leading to something which is care would be coming up next to your bedside at your comfort and at your home. So the boosting factors are health consciousness, the entrepreneurial boost that we have seen, the automation, data centralization and accessibility, Make in India, as I talked about it, and enhanced purchase capability. Right now, we are ready to accept and pay for devices through which we not only want to, contact the doctors, but we want to take care of our health ourselves. So a lot of health watch, Fitbit kind of practices would be our next or our second nature soon. So if we look at the country-wise comparison of home healthcare, US is is number one. They had been using healthcare devices since long. They have a very organized segment of geriatric or post-op care, and how home healthcare is standardized by the government itself with the kind of policies that are there, the kind of, if they are medical devices, how they are regulated. So two years back, we also got an opportunity to participate in the policy design of the Dubai home healthcare policy. And we were surprised that there was already a draft by the government that how they want to regulate each and every part of the access to care. Who would be the stakeholders? How do you take care of patients? How would anybody access or pay for your services? The other countries are Germany, Japan, UK, Sweden, Australia, and Canada. Very importantly, or what had been a deterrent at the Indian setting is, dicey regulatory landscape of the home healthcare products. So when we are talking about medical devices, certain until very recently, all the medical devices or some notified medical devices fell under drug. So if we look at the quality of certain devices, because it was not standardized by the government, a huge elasticity was there. But what is significant about September, which is the next month of this year, is that every medical device is going under regulation by the CDSCO. So, and because India drafted the medical devices rules quite later, it took the best of US as well as FDA, as well as UK, as well as Japan. So what we currently have now is a risk-based segregation. So earlier, the easy logic of a device to be categorized was whether if it is going inside body, it is highly risky, and if it is not, it is not. But now it is not the case. For example, pulse oximetry. If a pulse oximeter is giving a wrong reading, imagine it is showing that it is 99, but your oxygen is 75. So the risk is very high. So right now it is classification C. So A is low risk and D is high risk. So now we have a very strong regulatory policy enforced next month on, and which is risk-based, and hence this is a right time to focus on quality and standardization. Also, you have to see, while you are innovating, what is the regulatory burden that your product needs or would be going through, and can you change or shift between if you do not have the budget to take care of that. So what are some of the characteristics of a home healthcare device? It has to be portable, it has to be simple. If it can access a low resource setting area, for example, tier 2 and 3, it opens up huge market for you. And if it is compatible with the other devices, for example, if you want them to use a smartphone to collect data, or connected systems, some other oximetry connected to, say, BP monitor, or for example, glucometer connected to an app, which is where the data is directly going to your caregiver, is an example of connected systems. So these are some of the advantages. However, if you look at each and every aspect of the advantages, they are a value proposition in themselves. For example, a very least talked about value proposition would be personal dignity. What is the first example we all knew about home healthcare? It's taking care of our older parents, elder care, right? So what is that aspect? What is that gap? The gap is dignity. Have you seen that they are uncomfortable? What were those early products that we have seen? It's bedpan, it's clutches for them to walk around, or changing the toilet seat, right? So if a startup or if an innovator wants to, say, do something about dignity, can you innovate around it? Could be an opportunity to look into problems through the value proposition that you would like to bring, which connects with you, and at the same time you find that out in a clinical immersion setting. Some of the very common domains are, and I tried to organize this to make it easy, is online consultation and e-medical service do fall under home healthcare as well. And that we have seen that earlier we were not ready to pay for teleconsultation, and now we don't have any other choice. So there is Apollo app. The same doctor is charging same amount even if you are visiting him online, and that takes 5 minutes of his time, but in person you would have had taken 1 hour. So right now we have started paying for that. So it's a very important domain in the home healthcare segment. There are then the products or the medical devices, including consumables of those devices, which is the next part. The third part is another most neglected part, is the post-operation care, which is a huge territory wherein the cost of hospital bed per day, where if you are not under insurance, the hospital would want you to go to your home, right? So if you can innovate some products around it where you can make taking care of a patient post particular surgery easier, that's a great market again. Postnatal, which is after childbirth, a woman and the child needs a particular care, is a big segment. We have seen startups in physiotherapy, and we have seen startups delivering paramedics to home. They would fall under this category. And then the other one is medical assistance services, which includes elder care, geriatric care, smaller hospitals, and nursing services. So if we talk about the segmentation in percentage, the highest or the thickest is OTC devices because we could relate to it. Pulse oximetry, glucose monitoring, it is itself a huge market, very highly concentrated, and advertisements are pretty common there. So glucometers, BP monitors had been there. So they occupy the highest space. Also, it is very competitive. Then comes the mobility aids, for example, kneecap, various patient support systems. And then comes the medical devices. The percentage of ICU device in home is currently low because you would see there are hardly any home patient or hospital beds inside home because it is very difficult to set up. But post-COVID, we have seen that people who can pay for that, they have a particular room which look like hospitals with automated beds and IV systems and so on and so forth, as well as patient paramonitors is also have been purchased, including ventilators and oxygen concentrators. So that segment is again less crowded, but it is coming up post-COVID. Nursing, ambulance, and therapeutic are had been there and they are steady. So I'll just touch up how to innovate, and this is based on my experience of innovating certain medical devices. So the one way is to go by and read about Stanford biodesign model, wherein clinical unmet needs are found through clinical immersions, where you stay in a hospital or you talk to doctors for a very long time. You talk to your customers for such a long time that you can relate to them. And again, if you look at how it is done in India, for those who are not following any template, you have seen that either you have heard about a problem from the customers or doctors, say hospitals or patients, or the other side is you like the hype of AI, you like IoT, or you like blockchain, and now you think, okay, I'm already an expert in this. How do I use that in solving a medical problem which seems easier or nobody has done? That is another way of doing that. However, and that is called technology push, because I'm pushing it, right? So the ideal way is to find that sweet spot where both of them, merge. And because if you find a technology first and then go for a product, very likely that it may not succeed. The other is to do a stakeholders analysis, which is 5P analysis: provider, patients, physician, payer, and policymakers. Do that and find who is your customers. At times, your end user may not be your customer. Your customer may be somebody who is paying, but you have to take care of somebody in the channel as well in order to make it big. Then what kind of innovation scale are you looking at? The big I means actually innovating. However, the small I is the incremental value that as a startup or as an entrepreneur, with your current low resources, low capital or low budget or low knowledge, you can easily do smaller increments and then have enough value to actually invest on R&D and do the big innovation. Then the tech strategy would be, are you building just one product, or are you building one technology that can be replicated in various verticals. For example, cardiac stent was first, so the stenting was first invented for the cardiac surgery. However, it was seen that, okay, uterine balloon catheters can be, stents could be used there as well. Stents could be used in any other GI surgeries as well. So it brings down your fixed cost and increases your ROI over time. So always go for tech where you are building a platform for future products. So the stepwise procedure is conceptualization, research, ideation, prototyping, testing your prototype, production, and then the deployment. And in the various stages of research are defining the problem, researching the problem, finding your hypothesis, and then testing that hypothesis. And in that process, you ideate and start your first prototype. If your product is an app and website, the customer-centric design tells you that it should have an easy interface, uploadable, this and that. And one classic example that I would share with you, what I learned from the IDEO Design Lab, is that there was this product. There was this company who found that there is a gap that a lot of sons and daughters are staying in these states who would like to monitor their old parents who are alone in India at home. So they found this, they developed this tracker. So it's a tracker that old parent has to wear, and say that grandpa would be walking and it would be tracking the amount of steps he has taken, or the stairs, whether he has taken stairs or not. And it also came with a smart pillow, what time did he sleep, how long did he sleep, and a smart plate which would track his calories, whether he had enough fibers in terms of sabji and dal and all this or not. So the son apparently was very happy tracking his dad. And what this company found after 6-7 months, that the sales is not picking up, right? So they tried to do a research why the sales, as much as they thought that it's going to be a blockbuster product, why is what is taking place. They found that that dad found one younger boy who would wear the tracker and go for the walk on his behalf, and he had this bai who ate his food on that tracking plate, and for sleeping he also found some jugaad to use those pressures, and he must be watching Netflix or something. So what happened here? What happened here is that for that company, that guy in the US was paying, and that company thought, that startup thought that he is the customer. However, he was not the customer. Anybody who is using your product should find it so intuitive that it becomes a part of your life, and you have to take care that it doesn't become so fixative, or it should imitate the human behavior, if not anything else. So these are the phases of prototyping in a medtech sector. The ideation and design has to follow the design thinking process, and there are various templates that you can read about and start. Then comes with that design, go for ethnographic research. That is the kind of example that I shared. If your geography is North India, if your geography is South India, there would be changes in your design. So develop many blueprints as much as possible, and then go for prototyping for each and every blueprint. Test all these blueprints, and then find how could you deploy it fast. Do alpha and beta testing, and then take feedback. So you have to keep on testing it at the fourth stage in order to find that right design of your product. And then again that goes for pilot testing, and then you find your OEM. You don't have to start manufacturing on your own. There are OEMs to do that for you, or find some licensing body, and then finally, if that works out for you, go for manufacturing. So your go-to market, whether would you like to distribute it yourself or not? These are the questions that you have to answer. If not today, there is a new market called D2C, direct to customer, which a lot of FMCG companies have started exploiting, which earlier were unthinkable for. You could never upset a particular channel of dealers and distributors until now. But now there are ways to directly, market your products, going online and selling through Amazon or not. Whether you want to be another e-commerce or you need to have your own app and advertise. These are some of the ways to do that. The traditional method is obviously to go with dealers and distributors. With that, you find all India, pan-India market. But if India is your market or not is also a question that you have to answer. And STPI is the right zone for you to think of exports, because the whole idea of STPIs were telling you to start thinking from export. You don't, if you're innovating in India, you don't have to really sell to India. You can be targeting US or UK or some other countries as well. Some of the revenue models are pay, subscription based, or direct purchase, like home healthcare devices we buy one time. And then if you want a recurring revenue, you have to do the whole customer journey. No, I won't just sell a device. I want a regular recurring ROI from this customer, and I would like to track the data, and I would like to support him through his journey of a particular illness, for example, diabetes. That would give you higher ROI, as at the same time would be very, the patient would be sticking to your device, and would, if they love your service, they would stick to your brand. So these are some of the models of how you could earn. So basically there is a lot of money on the table. You have to find out for your particular innovation, is there money being left out on the table, and how could you grasp all of them based on the services that you want to include along with the product. There is a very, very positive impact of Industry 4.0 on the home healthcare segment because of the manufacturing, ease of manufacturing right now, ease of prototyping, ease of rapid prototyping, as well as 3D printing. And this is such a right time to be in this industry, and all the best to you. And I'm leaving with the thought that innovation is the only way to win. However, to innovate, you really need to be ready to fail, not once, but more than once. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Romita, for providing the valuable information on the key points of the health and disease management. And you have nicely covered like data centralization, regulatory landscape, regulatory burden on the product, and elaborated segmentation for home healthcare. Thank you. So let me call our next speaker, Mr. Gaurav Parchani. He's a co-founder and CTO at Dozy. So he hails from the first batch of IIT Indore after working on simulation solutions in the automotive domain. He co-founded Dozy alongside Mudit. The Dozy team has enabled remote patient monitoring for over 40,000 patients in both government and private hospitals. The solutions including triaging and early warning system that led to better patient outcomes and reduction of loads on the healthcare professionals. Gaurav has also been recognized by Forbes India 30 under 30 in 2020 and Business World 40 under 40 in 2020. So over to Gaurav.
Thank you, Anurag-ji. Thank you for giving me this opportunity with the wonderful panelists. Very informative talks by Dr. Neeraj and Romita. I would be repeating a lot of what you guys said, so I think I can run through very, very quickly. If you could just give me permissions to share the screen.
So host, please give the permission to share the screen.
Yeah, I have it now. So yeah, I'll just quickly share it. Please let me know if you can see the screen.
Yes, visible now.
Awesome, thank you. So hi, I'm Gaurav. Thank you for having me here. The topic for today's discussion is disruptive innovation in medtech for a healthier tomorrow, right? So that, as in when I got the topic, right, and when I was looking at the theme, that made me kind of wonder, how do we define disruption, right? So, or disruptive particularly, right? So yes, obviously there's a negative meaning which we don't need to worry about. But then, yeah, obviously our meaning in medtech industry is primarily the second one, which Google says is actually innovative, inventive, ingenious, original, right? Which is something new which has been done, which hasn't been done before. It doesn't really have any association with tech, but it can be anything which hasn't been done before and is something new that is that somebody has kind of tried and worked really well, right? In a positive sense, obviously. So a lot of opportunities in health tech and med tech, if you look at, right, software as a medical service is picking up really well, right? There are so many companies that have come up with digital platforms for enabling vital monitoring, or let's say digital platform for e-consultations, or any n number of sort of things, right? Your storage of your medical data or report or anything like that, right? Uh, Virtual assistants and AI-based chatbots are again picking up really well, where we have a shortage of nurses, we have a shortage of doctors, we have a shortage of all healthcare professionals. In such a case, if you're waiting for a consultation, why not basically go through a chatbot list first, which can essentially triage you and make sure that you're receiving a right person at the end of it, right? AI-based imaging and non-imaging diagnostics, right? This is something that has been going for a long time. I think AI's first application in medtech or health tech was primarily image recognition, right? Or image processing, where we find subtle tumors, or let's say certain medical diagnosis on X-ray, CT scans, right? That was essentially the beginning of AI in healthcare. It has ramped up really well. There are more than 100 companies worldwide. I know of a few of them in India that have been doing really well and have been supporting the excess amount of load on radiologists, right? In particularly during COVID times, the CT score that was calculated, there was a high load where people figured out that okay, a CT scan may be a very correct representation of health deterioration, right? Whether the situation is going to get worse enough or going to come back to normal. And that is where there was a heavy load, and a lot of startups that are in this space stepped up and alleviated a little bit of load on the radiologists that are out there. AI again in robotic surgery is again one of the very important parameters. Again, it has been there for some time now. It is not just essentially now just limited to basic surgeries, but people have been trying heart surgeries primarily with robotics, right? And we've seen a worldwide surge in this kind of a thing for ensuring at least partial robotic surgery, where you have an assisted systems, not really, let's say, a full blown system for which is taking over the human surgeon, but as such an assisted system where precision accuracy is more of a concern, right? How much with precision, how much amount of tissue is something that we have to extract, right? Or where what can we do to ensure that the best patient outcome, or let's say the best or least possible pain for the patient post surgery, right? That is something which has been the top concern of this part. AR, VR again is something which is very important for education. As we are ramping up the number of doctors, number of nurses, number of healthcare professionals that graduate every year to meet the demand that is out there, the education is something that needs to happen, as in, let's say, needs to step up as well, right? We can't rely on the old model where all the medical, let's say, medical graduates go through a cadaver first and then basically try out on a live human subject, right? There has to be a layer of AR, VR that comes in, and a lot of startups, particularly in the ortho space that I know of, are working in this particular segment, right? And I've just taken a liberty to add a few there. Like smart screening is something which is very important. Our healthcare systems that we need to understand are very reactive, right? What do I mean by that? Is that we only take action when we figure out something has gone wrong, right? If there is a symptom, okay, I have to look at this, right? And it's not just for COVID, right? It's for lifestyle disorders, which develop over weeks, months, and years of deterioration, where there have been symptoms always, but then people wait for them to kind of mature and then only go to a doctor. Okay, doctor, I'm facing this symptom. What should I do? And then the doctor recommends us diagnoses, and then you go through the treatment, right? In more often than not cases, it's too late. Can we enable smart screening where, let's say, in a few minutes of time, I can screen anybody, right? Obviously, you can always question that, okay, that this is there in the form of full body checkups that you should do once every quarter. But who does that, right? Even the penetration of insurance would show you how many people are interested in proactive healthcare, right? Let alone diagnoses, or let alone basically going through a screening procedure again and again. So can I make screening, or can we make screening very, very easy, where it's being done without even bothering me, or without even I knowing that, okay, I'm being screened for something, right? So that's something that is to look out for. A lot of screening startups that have come up or in this space, we also work in this particular space. There are other startups as well which work on particularly cancer screening and other screening as well. Diagnostics, again, it's what it was covered on the top, but again, beyond imaging, right? There is a lot of scope where we can work on the blood work. We can work on sorry. We can work in a lot of spaces where AI hasn't kind of gone there before yet, right? And there is a lot of scope for disruption there. Personalized management is something which is really important, right? Which is primarily for lifestyle monitoring, right? Or lifestyle disorders, cardiac disorders, cancer, kidney disorders, and things like that, right? Calculation or collection of data on a regular basis and modifying the treatment strategy, right? Basis a particular case, right? Because every patient is unique. Is something that is very, very required, right? We are working very well in this space, but then there have been very amazing solutions that have come throughout, right? One good example, and it may not be a startup example, but one of the use cases of IBM Watson was to go through 3,000 oncology journals and then figure out, based on the patient data that has been given, that what should be the best treatment strategy ahead, right? And capturing all of that, and then basically personalizing the treatment and recording all of that for the next patient that comes in, right? So that personalized care and personalized management is something missing. It sometimes gets lost in the protocols and then the techniques that we use, right? This is a set protocol that you need to use. A lot of times this needs to be personalized, and it can only happen if you have lots and lots of data available. If you have lots and lots of, let's say, technology that can enable all of that, right? Connected devices and IoT is another segment. Yes, we have a lot of devices which are really dumb devices. They collect data, they show it on the bedside unit or on the display on the device or something like that. At the max right now, as in you get the data there then and there itself, and then it's lost, right? Either you digitize yourself with writing it on a pen of paper, which I've personally seen that happening in hospitals, where there is a monitor and the nurse is writing it down in a chart paper, which is like de-digitizing the data. We can potentially extract all of this data, move it to a cloud where we can in a centralized manner, store it, and basically get all of the data in one place, right? So that is something which is really important. Home healthcare devices have stepped up, but again, these have been spot checks, right? Again, these are derived by, okay, if you already have diabetes, you have to check your sugar levels or your glycemic values once in a week, right? It's a protocol that you have to follow. It's not something that is being given to you in an intelligent manner, that, okay, your data last night doesn't seem good, why not take a glucose reading right now? It's a fixed process, and it's a delay involved there, where you will figure out only after days or hours of something when it has happened, right? Drug discovery is another area, and I think Dr. Neeraj spent some time there, where vaccines are very prime example, right? In this era, during the pandemic gave us a lot of bad things, but again, there were some positive things as well, right? This was a vaccine that was generated in record time, and I think the delivery also is going on in record time as well, right? So these are like a lot of opportunities in health tech primarily, right, which are waiting to be solved. And see, what I feel like, there is a reason that they've been waiting, and a lot of people haven't gone into it. The health tech community, particularly in India, is very small, and overall worldwide it's growing and it's very small. The reason for that is, I believe that healthcare is the second most regulated industry, or let's say environment ever, because the first I would consider space tech. But then beyond that, I would say that health tech is healthcare or health tech is the next one, because we are dealing directly with a risk where it can lead to a very risky outcome, where you're actually dealing with life of somebody, right? So, which is where rightly so. But then again, to navigate through all these regulations is also a very hard thing in itself. That's why there have been a lot of interest nowadays. But then, yeah, 10 years ago, the industry or the ecosystem was very, very small, and it's a very growing ecosystem. So that makes it very enticing right now and very attractive right now, because there are tons of problems that have been unsolved and the market is really, really huge. Again, some of the panelists before me discussed on a process for innovation, right? What I call innovation is madness, and there has to be a method to madness, right? You cannot just jump in and say that, okay, I'm going to do this and let's do this, right? So I'm going to make an algorithm that detects heart attack, right? How are you going to do that, right? How is it going to be regulated? How are you going to be really sure that it does that, right? How are you going to test it? How are you going to validate it? All of these are the questions that would come up, right? So the white boxes that you see are primarily fixed things in process that have been done day in and day out in the last 2 or 3 decades by medical device companies, by pharma companies, by any person who is involved in healthcare ecosystem, right? Clinical immersion, as we discussed earlier on, Romita mentioned that it is primarily takes inspiration from Stanford biodesign program, but some form of clinical immersions or research in terms of what sort of problems are there, right? The problem identification is very, very necessary. Otherwise, you're just shooting arrows in the dark, right? So what are you trying to solve for, right? And which is where the blue stars, where what you see is where the disruption happens, right? Where all the madness happens, right? You're brainstorming, you're doing R&D, you're prototyping, you're primarily going wild, right? You're not bound or you're not restricted by anything, right? But then before that, you have to follow those processes and be restricted in a particular standard operating procedure that you create around yourself, and then you get all of that data out, right? And then the idea is that you brainstorm, you do R&D, you do prototyping, and then you solve the problem, right? But a lot of cases and for a lot of entrepreneurs, right, who are just beginning right now, they see that this is the success point, right? Once you have the working prototype, again, you've done it, you've disrupted the whole ecosystem, and then there is a healthier tomorrow. But sadly, that's not the case, right? It doesn't stop at one place, right? If you want the disruption or the innovation to lead to an impact, you need to go through each and every point, right? What is my regulation, right? How am I going to deploy it? How am I going to validate it? Do I require, let's say, what sort of classification of risk do I come under for CDSCO, right? If I'm expanding to the US territory, what sort of FDA approval should I apply for? What is my go-to-market strategy, right? So innovation is not just tech, right? Or disruption is not just tech. A go-to-market strategy can be disruptive in itself, right? Disruptive in itself. I'll just give you one example where in a lot of cases during COVID, where government hospitals were hampered, and the procedure for basically acquiring, and these are not my words, these are words of people who work at the government hospital, that procedure for acquiring a pen and a hospital bed is almost similar for a hospital, right? It's very difficult for them to kind of go and acquire innovative or new age technology, which they don't have any benchmark to validate against, right? Or let's say you don't have 3 different competitors where you're choosing from a competitive, let's say, quote, right? This is just one particular vendor promising you something that, okay, this is going to be done and let's do it together. That sort of ecosystem doesn't exist in government hospitals for us, right? So what we tried to do and what we tried to disrupt was we invited a lot of industry and not just health tech industry, but like stalwarts in other industries. For example, Vadhani Foundation, SBI Foundation, we funded, or they funded the deployment of these devices in health tech or government institutions, right? During COVID, to ensure that we are converting COVID beds into step-down ICU beds. I'll cover our solution in the next few slides so you'll understand this better. But then the idea was that we wanted to support our fight against COVID, and we wanted to deploy it in government institutes apart from the private institutes or hospitals that we had deployed already in, right? And because of this, like 6 months, we worked with those funding and donation that was given by the donors, which were SBI Foundation and ACT grants and Vadhani Foundation. We could run our deployments for 6 months very smoothly, and then after that, the government took over, and they actually extended the period of monitoring or the contract by another 3 years, right? So that is something that was a success story, which was a disruptive strategy, right? We did not think of, okay, what's the go-to-market strategy for us, right? Let's get donations, right? So that's not something that comes to mind very, very directly. It was a strategy that basically, in need, we wanted to just deploy it somehow, and this is one of the ways that we saw through ACT grants, right? So this is something that we're scaling up really well right now with Million ICU program. where not just in India, but our target is to kind of go outside India wherever there is very high amount of load on the infrastructure, and the infrastructure is very, very poor, right? We don't have enough number of beds, we don't have enough number of hospitals, we don't have enough number of doctors or nurses or healthcare professionals, right? So this is exactly a solution where this kind of a strategy thrives, right? So that's something that we need to look at for sure, right? Once you've gone to market, you have a good customer base, you're creating a lot of value, you're generating a lot of impact, but then again, still it's not done, right? How do you scale it, right? Okay, sure, you've done it for 4 metros in India. What beyond that? Who's going to go to tier 2, tier 3 cities and even the PHCs in the remote villages, right? What is your method of scaling, right? We are a country of 120 plus crore people, right? So how do we reach to everybody, right? That's something that's always in the mind. And anything and everything that you do will be disruptive, because I don't feel there has been any MedTech or health tech solution that has gone and touched 120 crore lives, right? So anything that you would do will be original, will be innovative, and will be a new in itself, right? So if you're able to scale at that level, and then that is when you kind of realize the impact on the way. How did we disrupt, or how do we feel like our disruption or our innovation came in, right? So what we saw primarily was traditional form of monitoring was very, very inconvenient, right? You have to put electrodes on top of you, or they're expensive, or they're impractical, right? There have been some solutions, for example, let's say the SpO2 monitor, right? Or let's say the blood pressure monitor, which are not that expensive also, but then at the same time, very, very inconvenient, right? You don't want to wrap around a cuff around your arm every day, or let's say 3 times a day, and then just take a reading and just put it in an app, right? Where is it going, right? You don't, it's an inconvenient solution. It's a solution that depends on the user itself, right? Romita said it very, very perfectly, sir. You have to design it for the user. And sometimes, and a lot of times, in our cases, all the time, user is the one who does not pay. Somebody else pays for the user, right? So in our case, the user is a different and the payer is a different. And which is exactly where the compliance from the user is the biggest issue, right? You can't get them to take a reading 4 times a day, 3 times a day, even once a day, right? It's very, very difficult for building that overhead or a habit in somebody to kind of to get that done, right? This is where we thought and we reimagined how can we do that, right? So we explored a lot of sensors, and then we came across these sensors, pressure-based sensors. We worked on them, we modified them, we broke them apart, and then we read them, and then we put them under the mattress, right? So our sensors go under the mattress, don't even touch the person, capture all the micro vibrations that the human body produces, and then we extract heartbeats, respiration cycles, blood pressure, body movement, sleep quality, whatnot, right? All of these things we capture from under the mattress. But what we also realize at the same time, and which is where I'll go to the next one, is basically that we also need other solutions also in place, right? So we've during COVID we attached an SpO2 monitor, which is an accessory which still goes on the finger, but which connects to our device, and you don't have to do anything, just wear it on. All of the data continuously is being captured. Similarly, there is a function of attaching an ECG. It's a plug and play system where, let's say, there are 100 patients in a hospital are being monitored by DOSI. 5% of them require an ECG. You have 5 ECGs. You just plug and play, right? You keep moving the ECGs, do the diagnosis for them, and move it to the next person, right? Whoever requires it. So that system became as a platform, and this is exactly where we are right now. We convert any bed into a step-down ICU bed at 20% of the cost of any standard monitor, right? And this can be done within 5 minutes, right? The installation just takes 5 minutes. The most important part around this is now, since we have all of this data in place, right? 24/7 data of all the patients that are there in the hospital, and also a lot of people that are at home. This solution, by the way, works perfectly well at home as well. In fact, it was actually designed in the first time for home only, but then during COVID, we pivoted a little bit and we made sure that we modified our device to work for hospitals in that industrial setting. But then the most important part is, when we have all of this data for everybody, can we do triaging on a continuous basis? Can we do predictive health risk, alert risk? We've done that already. I'll just give you one example. Our biggest installation has been at IGGMC Nagpur, which was at one point of time in wave 2, the epicenter of the pandemic in India. In wave 2, the generation of wave 2 started there. We've monitored till now over close to 4,000 patients over there, and out of that, for 850 plus, we've raised life-saving alerts on action on which was very, very, as in the intervention was in record time, where they didn't have to bother about the patient coming up or their next 6 hours, let's say, checkup going into the place. they could proactively say that, okay, this person is deteriorating, and give them the intervention that is required, either ship them to ICU or give them the ventilator support outside ICU or the oxygen therapy, whatever is needed, right? So all of that was possible because of the AI-based predictive alerts, right? Because we have all of this data in place. We combined it with the knowledge of early warning systems that have been implemented across the world manually, automated all of that process, added a flavor of AI to it to ensure that the alarm fatigue is not that high. So disruptions, again, this is going back to my previous theme, right? Disruptions require problems, right? It doesn't happen overnight, right? And it doesn't happen in air, right? I need to solve something, right? It doesn't happen like that. What we saw when COVID began was there was very low nurse to patient ratio, right? Depending on wherever you are in the country, it will either range from 1:10 to 1:40. And WHO states that for an HDU, high dependency unit, or a step down ICU unit, there should be at least 1:4 ratio, right? So we definitely don't have all the nurses, right? We are actually poised to double our hospital beds in next 5 years, right? From 2 million beds, we'll go to 4 million beds in the country. And the number of nurses that will graduate in that time, in the next 5 years, will only going to be supporting, or let's say continuing, the gap that is there, right? They won't let the gap increase, but the gap will always be there. So how do you bridge that gap, right? Technology is the only answer. So we automated all the vital monitoring process so that all of the time that the nurses spend in that manual process of measuring that every 6 hours on every patient and noting that down on a chart paper, it is all automated and available remotely on a basically on an app, on a desktop, or you can even take a printout of it if you still prefer paper, right? So that's already there. There was inadequate patient status visibility for a healthcare professionals, right? Our doctor needs to take rounds always to kind of get that visibility, right? And the rounds will happen only twice a day, thrice a day, or 4 times a day, right? How do we solve that, right? So remote data delivery on a single screen for all hundreds of patients in one shot, where wherever, if there is any alert, you can proactively look at it, or within every hour, you can just take out the screen and just look at it, right? And a nurse can actually be focused on a control room, which we've seen in the hospitals that we've converted. There is a control room where a healthcare professional sits, and their job is to kind of review all the health status of the patients, right? So it's a continuous process now. It's not a discrete process. There was a problem of paper-based record keeping, right? So we made sure that all of the systems that we're capturing, they're automated and they're digitized already, right? So all of the integrations that were to be done for a hospital environment, for an EHR, or let's say if you want printouts in a particular format, we did that, right? So everything was digitized from get-go, and we saved a lot of time for healthcare professionals to avoid paper-based, or as much as it could be removed, right? There have been a lot of cases. This is pre-COVID also, and in COVID also, there are a lot of patient deteriorations outside ICU, right? One of the primary reasons is obviously we have less healthcare professionals, but again, the thing is that even if there is a bedside monitor, somebody needs to look at it again and again, right? That doesn't happen on a timely basis. So for a timely intervention, AI-powered alerting systems that I spoke about, and triaging systems, were very influential, or let's say very important in making sure that we captured those deteriorations, and we made sure that these were transferred to ICU, and there were very less patient deteriorations outside ICU in the wards that we monitored, right? Usually there is very high cost of medical devices. I mentioned that 20%, so we are in the range of 20 to 25% of any traditional monitor, right? There is no visibility when the patient is at home, right? So each device, easy device that can be used by anyone and anywhere, right? So our devices goes under the mattress. You just pair it once and you forget about it, right? Whether the patient is, or the user is 85 years old or 95 years old or even 102, right? The highest, or the oldest patient that we've monitored at home is my neighbor who went through COVID and who championed COVID. She's 102 years old, right? So she came out on the positive side, and she was monitored completely via DOSI. Her son in the US, who works for Google in the US, was able to monitor her very accurately, or as in, let's say, very easily from the US, and then guide me to do whatever he wanted me to do, right? So I was very, very happy when that happened, right? Just in my neighboring flat. So that's something that was an eye opener for us as well. So again, the theme is that, and the list is countless. I can keep going and going and going. But the theme is that you need to identify a problem, and then you need a solution that is very, very innovative, right? That is the only way to kind of include innovation, and that is my belief, obviously, and that is how the way we operate as well. And I think that's about it from my side. So yeah, the overall theme of tech convergence is basically that the market is ripe. There is a lot of untapped potential that is out there, because we've always been lagging worldwide, not just in India, worldwide, right? And now is the opportunity that pandemic has shown us, that has exposed all of the cracks in our healthcare ecosystem. There is an opportunity for leapfrog, right? Leapfrogging. We don't need to move or follow the processes that have been followed by the West. We can leapfrog to the best possible method ever, right? And that is what I would call disruption, and not just basically following, okay, that we're following the West. And honestly, we cannot even do that, right? So if let's say if we just pick up cardiac use cases, right? Worldwide, 57 million people die worldwide every year, right? A good chunk of that, 1/5 or 1/3 of that, is essentially 15 million to 16 million cases are only cardiac use cases, or are cardiac related deaths, right? The way the Western countries handle cardiac disorders, right, by making sure that there is enough cardiologists to population ratio, we cannot even aim or dream to do that, right? We are way behind that because of the sheer amount of population or the sheer amount of scale that we have in this country. And that is where we cannot blindly follow them. And that is exactly why we need solutions. We need technology, we need innovations in place to make sure that we leapfrog, and we kind of provide the best possible care to every Indian that is out there. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, so thank you, Gaurav, for sharing views on the latest technological changes, and you nicely covered opportunities in healthcare sector. And you have also mentioned nicely like affordability and accessibility of medical devices, keeping in mind the population of India. So thank you very much. So our next speaker is Dr. Lalit Ranjan. So let me give a brief introduction about him. So he's a physician with specialization in public health. His concerns on the gaps in the current healthcare ecosystem led to the conception of the MedTel. Dr. Lalit brings with him 10+ years of innovation experience in primary care, digital health, tele-triage, product development, point of care diagnostics, IoMT, Internet of Medical Things, strategic planning, operations, and program management. Dr. Lalit has worked as a consultant with leading organizations both in developed and developing countries like World Health Organization, India, Ministry of Health, Saudi Arabia, and National Health Service, UK. He has a MBBS degree from Odisha and MPH, Master of Public Health, from University of Dundee, United Kingdom. So over to you, Dr. Lalit.
Thank you, Anurag. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you. So,
I would request host to share his PDF file.
So thank you, team STPI and other associates, and I would really thank you to all the panelists for the detailed what is told here. Like in detail, I was listening thoroughly, but I will not repeating. Try not to repeat, but they all spoke. And thank you all the attendees, the future innovators and entrepreneurs, researchers for joining this session. So thank you all. So my topic is for this session, the software as a medical device. So we all discussed a lot, Dr. Neeraj and all discussed about everything, what the problem is and all. So I'll be very specific on my topic, and later on I'll be telling something about ourselves, what we do. So the software as a medical device is like when the software is doing the job of a medical device, then you are saying that a software is a medical device. So if you see that the International Medical Device Regulation Forum, they all together coined this term. So there are so many representatives from multiple countries, including manufacturers, regulators, and all. So I'll be saying that the software as software intended to be used for medical purposes that perform these purposes without being part of a hardware medical device. So please next slide. So we all must know that software as a medical device is not a software that supports the function of medical device hardware. So we must know that software is doing other than supporting the medical device or hardware. Suppose I'll be giving an example here. Suppose a software is helping a MRI to create images, but that's not a software as a medical device. But I can say the software that is analyzing the images and giving inferences and decision support to the doctors, that is the software as a medical device. So before I'll be saying all the innovators and the future entrepreneurs here to understand the term what is the meaning of software. If they are developing some product, so they must ask question like, is my software a medical device? Can my software work independently from another device? So that means that the software should have some output that should match with the clinical outcomes, like what exactly you are intending to have that clinical outcomes. So that's all from the definition point of view. Please next. So if you see that like the basic programming module, I'm basically a doctor, so I am not a tech guy, but I will just let you know that there is a layman description that here. So the software as a medical device, that is an input and there is an algorithm and there is an output. So input we can get from many sources, like from the existing lab services, images, medical records, even the activity that we do. We are using multiple apps nowadays, Fitbit and other apps that we get inputs from there, data from there, and we run through the multiple like engines we call that we all discussing in the last couple of minutes, many AI models. So these inputs run through the algorithms, and again that algorithm should back by the clinical evidences. So that means reference data, knowledge base. So I can say that the clinical evidence-based protocols, and the outputs is like either it is like diagnosis and treatment and inform or drive. So the output may work anywhere. So like in the like diagnosis, I can say that there are softwares that were analyzing images and they are giving inferences, so that I can say diagnosing, and where there is a clinical decision support where they are just enabling a doctor to get better clinical decisions. And where certain cases, what other co-founder was saying, like the device gives signals, the alerts. So it is helping doctors to take clinical decisions. So that's, I can all say that software as a medical device, and this is how in layman term I can say that we all understand that this is not it is not supporting the device to deliver its function. Rather, it is a software as a medical device where the clinical inputs are taken and it runs through algorithm and it gives a desired outcomes what we are looking for. Next. So yes, we all talked about the clinical validation, like Romy and Dr. Neeraj and others. So the most important thing is like the clinical validation. When you are talking about India, that there is the highest body in India to medical device and CTS. So we are coming with new guidelines, new reforms, as Dr. Romeo was saying, like there are certain risk, high risk and low risk devices. So as you are discussing about the pulse oximeter having value of 99 and certainly that is having 75. So we must have a clinical like validation process, and we must have regulators like in the medical device that we are in US. They have a very well-defined regulations, like FDA is doing that. And in the similar scenario, India also CDS is doing a lot of job in this. In the last 1 year, I think they are doing a there are so many guidelines, so many new recommendations are happening. So if you're building some product related to us, other co-founders saying that okay, they're building a device and they're having a prototype. But once they get the prototype, the job is not done. So if you have to go to market, then you will be doing scaling. So you must have to do clinical validation. So I'll be saying there are a couple of products now available in the market, and when you go back to doctors and say, so this is your product, so that you can use in a practice. So you will tell immediately that I will not take that headache that your device will give a wrong result. So there are many devices are coming in which are non-invasive, and when you can classify it as a clinical grade device or it is just a wellness device you can use at home. So these things are coming in when we are asking to the clinicians to adapt these products into their practice. So the validation is very, very important, and the innovators or the researchers should get and involve themselves with the right academicians, doctors, and other institutions, R&D institutions, so that they can validate the product. It is not just they build a product and it is giving some parameters and it is right. So that is very, very important, that all we need to consider that. And in the other market, if you see India, it is a bit not regulated, but we are now focusing more on regulations. But if you are going to launch in your product in Europe and US and all, so there are stringent regulations are there. You have to go with that. So keeping in those things in mind, when we are building a product, we must take seriously the clinical validation. I'll be telling you some of the companies. We are basically medical disease and device agnostic company, and easing the interoperability, the medical devices and the health ecosystem. So what we're doing, we are working with multiple devices on our platform, and we're working with building an ecosystem, working with multiple IoT manufacturers, not only from India, across the globe. We are working with them. And when you onboard those devices, we ask them, can you submit some of your recent publications and all? What the reason is, because we're working with some clinical grade devices. We are reaching out to hospitals. We are working with hospitals, doctors. So those who are clinicians, they are practicing. So when they will be taking our platform on to provide their services, they will definitely ask that what the literatures you have so far, what the certification you have. So even if you have certifications and all in a country, and if you are going to another country to launch your product, and again you have to go through this similar process in their country. So these things are very, very important when we build a product, and we must think about the validation, which sometimes it takes some years to get your product validated. Next. Yeah. So rather talking about ourselves, I will talk proudly about the ecosystem that is really working in this sector. So the two entrepreneurs have started Niramay, and they are doing a wonderful job here. So if you see, Niramay developed a novel software-based medical device to detect breast cancer. So what I try to tell you, like if you have a product, you must have to go validation, and even if you want to scale it, you must have to do validation. So in multiple markets also. So next. So if you even have a product, you don't have you cannot scale at a pace. So there are a couple of other companies across the globe, I would say, like Path AI. They are building technologies that assist pathologists to take right diagnosis. So again, this is a great example, and there are so many. I'm just putting some example here to relate yourself that what are the different products. So they are into pathology services, and they are working with a lot of data in the back end, and they are giving a diagnosis to helping pathologists to diagnose cases much faster. Yeah, next. So there also there are like a software program that helps patient manage their condition Like in case of diabetes, I would say like how to manage your diabetes, how to decrease your HbA1c level, how to relate your weight with your blood sugar level and all. So it all depends upon the software outcomes that they give, and the doctor also educate the patients and gives insights to the doctors. So we are also working in diabetes. Next. So the same. So we call ourselves a device. We use connected devices, and we have our proprietary software solutions. We integrate both, and we are building disease diagnostic solutions. So next slide. So we are launching recently the pregnancy monitoring. This is another like one of our competitor, like one of other startup. They are building a solution that is related to musculoskeletal. So that is the movement, the assessment. It helps assessment the physiotherapists, orthopedicians. It help to access the patients well, that the range of movement, everything. So if it's doing this in their platform, it gives insights to the doctors that the range of movement and other physiological conditions like related to musculoskeletal system. So again, this is a clear tool that we can read that this software as a medical device. Next. Yeah. So we are building a product that is that remote patient monitoring, and we have an app that helps expectant mothers stay on track and provide support throughout the pregnancy. It is not just to give the data to the doctors, but we identify the high-risk pregnancies. So also we are working with the government, providing solutions to the last mile ANMs. So they are using our solutions where they monitor the antenatal checkups of different pregnant women on the ground, and it became more popular in this post-COVID. The government, the pregnant woman did not want to get touched by the the ANM. So they wanted to use some products that will help maintain the social distance. Again, they will get the data, and also they find the high risk pregnancies. And we were launching on 100 ANMs. Those we are using this product, and any point of time, then they are seeing that okay, these are the pregnant women. They are on high risk conditions. So it's not just about it is not only about that building some product, but it is more about, as Promi was saying, like interoperability with other devices, other platforms. So the data interoperability is very important. Again, medical device, the IoT device interoperability is also very important. That we are solving. We are working with multiple device manufacturers and getting data from multiple devices, and we have our own tools, that disease agnostic tools that we are building to helping the last mile users or the patients and also the doctors, giving them insight to take better decisions. Next. Yeah. So thank you. That's all from my end. I would say one thing, like we have 1 million doctors in India. We have around more than 2 million pharmacies outlets where they are just selling drugs. But I would say these are the locations, these are the places where patients come in. So we are talking about patients who always stay at home. And yes, I agree that there are e-delivery of e-pharmacy and all. But I would say these are the places where patients are directly connected with them. So the doctors and the pharmacies, and the diagnostics. So basically, we are working with them, empowering with them with the technology solutions, so that they can deal with patients and empower patients to use technology. So I think data is very important, and I think doctors and hospitals plays a most important role engaging adapting new technologies, so that we can generate data, as other panelists were saying, that data, when you get more data and we give more inferences, and the more correctness is there. So that if we engage more doctors, more hospitals, then we'll generate more data from the patient side, and it will get more correctness and to make some better clinical decisions. Thank you all. Thank you all panelists, and thank you all STPI members, and thank you all the attendees.
Thank you, Lalit, for sharing views with us on software as a medical device and covering all these important points, clinical evaluation and validation, and importance of app-based medical devices. Thank you. So now I will call out our next speaker, Sri Sanjay Kumar, Additional Director STPI, for his views. Over to Sanjay. You are on mute, Sanjay ji.
Thank you, Anurag. So good afternoon, all of you. The eminent speaker who were present in the morning, first half of the inaugural session, and then another speaker present on digital dais, Dr. Neeraj, Ms. Romita, Dr. Lalit Ranjan, Mr. Gaurav, Shri Surya Patnaik and Anurag, and dear participants. So the need arise in 2017, 2018, we started preparing the report. And then we realized that why there is a requirement of this center of excellence, who is specifically on medical technology. And you might be aware that around 65% of India's demand for medical electronic equipment and consumables is currently met through imports. Moreover, the demand of medical products and services is only going to rise exponentially in the future. So strengthening the domestic capabilities of medical products and services, we thought that let's have a center of excellence or center of entrepreneurship, where the startups in this particular domain can work, they can innovate themselves, and we can provide such an environment so that they can get all things done under single or under one umbrella. So normally we felt that there are some issues and challenges of the startups, like they are in crunch of financials. So financial resources crunch is there. Then they don't know how to generate revenue. Then again, team building. So this is again one of the painest area. Then what are the supporting infrastructure that is required to have a startup who can become entrepreneur? Then we thought that market awareness should also be there, and we should provide a platform where they can showcase their product, prototype, or idea, where from where they can get the market connect, and they can meet the customer expectations. So similarly, then we also thought that there may be some regulations affect in this particular center of excellence, because it is specifically to medical devices or health informatics. Then we also analyze that there should be a mentoring program, there should be a boot camp program, there should be such branding opportunities, some IPR and legal issues that can be solved under this particular umbrella. So we thought that let's have a center of excellence who can cater all these needs. So on these lines, we set up this center of excellence in 2019, and we are going for the second open challenge program. In first open challenge program, which was launched in August 2020, so we got a good response, approx 151 application or ideas we received from the various startups. Then we selected 15 startups from them, and now 8 are getting on board. And I want to highlight one more thing, that what are the offerings of this center of excellence, where startups can get benefit out of it. So we are having a ready to work space, that is plug and play facility, including conference room, training room. So all these are there, and it is located in SGPJ Lucknow. And other facilities, like we are having 2 labs, that is, one is basically med electronics and health informatics lab, and second is IoT lab, which is based on totally specialized into the healthcare domain. And in each of these labs, it is well equipped with lots of say sample bank of instruments, then analyzers, clinical and consumables items, imaging, optical devices, sensors, testing equipments, technical sports, simulation software, 3D printers, So all these are there under within this our lab, which are in SGPGI Lucknow. So any startup who want to design their prototype, design their product, so they can access these particular device. And in the initial stage of designing of their product prototype, we will provide them a support from the regulatory authority or say organization who can help them to meet the regulation framework of that particular device. And not only this, we also provide that mentoring support. We also provide, say, financial resources also in the initial days. And there are lots of stakeholders, partners who are involved in this Center of Excellence. So you can access them also. That is like we are having AI Med, All India Manufacturing of Medical Electronic Devices. And then SGPGI, then we have other partner Triple IT Lucknow. So you'll get all sports, and the AMTZ is one of the important. So if you are going into the production, so all the facilities or all the support which is required to go for your production, so you can get access from AMTZ also. So this is how we have collaborated with these stakeholders, and we did this Center of Excellence or Center of Entrepreneurship, where startups can grow, nurture their entrepreneurship journey, and come out with a domestic or indigenous product which can meet the requirement of customer or need of this particular sector where we are lacking, and we are recovering all these through imports only. And in the morning session, so there are few most good comments which came, that we have to make affordable medical facilities locally. This is one thing. So Dr. Saurabh Srivastava suggested that this STPI can, or by joining STPI, you can get all these facility and you can focus on your product, which can be very useful to the country. Dr. Onkar Rai, DG STPI, he has suggested that MedTech Center of Excellence is offering 360-degree support in terms of every possible means and bringing mentors, stakeholders under one umbrella to help growing and innovative ideas. So let's not wait for the how to do the innovations. Just join STPI with your idea. And this time we are focusing maximum of this problems, like you can come up in diagnostic tools you can design for that. You can, that idea you are having, any idea related to patient care or anything related to health, say health informatics. So whatever ideas are there in these particular domains, it is not restricted to only these particular domains, or any other specific idea where you are designing some product in this particular domain. So you are most welcome, and we will provide you all such support which are required from STPI to start from idea to a product stage, and you can become an entrepreneur. We are there to support you. With all these, I would like to thanks this team and the audience who are patiently listening me, and you can join this team as to grow and to start your entrepreneurship journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji, for sharing information about CEO, MedTech CEO. This will be very helpful for the entrepreneurs and startup participating in this event. So with this note, now I would like to take up questions from audience, if any. So far we have question from Kapil. So like his question is, Vyom is working in tier 2 and 3 and rural area with Anganwadi workers in UP by providing them IoMT devices, health, telehealth platform, doctors on call, and branded medicine. How can we get the support for access in Pan India? So maybe Sanjay ji, you can provide some information around this, right? You are on mute, it seems.
So I am aware of the activities of Vyom is doing a good thing, and so for designing and finalizing their product, if they need any kind of mentoring support at the initial stage, so that product can be a viable product and that will be used by a large mass, so they can just join this center of excellence, center of entrepreneurship, and whatever the things will be there, you just file your application and we'll evaluate you again, so that whatever the next readiness and product is there, based upon that we can connect you to other stakeholders who are with STPI, and then you can start to, you can grow with your journey.
I think this will help, Kapil. So next question is coming from Siddharth for Neeraj. Is Hanuman using any telemedicine platform for service the patients? Neeraj, you are on mute. Neeraj, you are not audible. I think there is some problem with the mic. So before I move ahead and towards the end, I would request all the panelists to switch on their videos for social media coverage. And with this note, I would like to remind again that MedTech Open Challenge Program 2.0 has been launched today. Entrepreneurs, startup working on MedTech space can submit their application through the Innovate portal. Last date to submit the application is 4th of October 2021. I am looking forward from all the audience for active participation, and also request everyone to spread this message to all your friends and colleagues, so that we could extend our support to all the startups working in MedTech domain across India. For more information, you please visit our website https://medtech.stpi.in. I am confident that the startups and innovators will come up with their innovative ideas from the focused technologies and can become a beneficiary of STPI and STPI Next and be part of building a self-reliant nation. If you have any questions, please write to us on email ID medtech@stpi.in and it will be answered shortly. Lastly, on behalf of STPI and our speakers, thank you again for joining us today and have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Anurag.
Thank you, Anurag.
Thank you, Amitaji. Thank you, Neeraj.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Lalit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.